Hey guys! This is part 5 of What If Naruto Became the Raikage. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 11. With the Raikage. After the Raikage's identity was finally revealed, the surrounding people remained in a state of utter shock and confusion, as they still could not believe that the Rokudaime Raikage was Namake's Minato, better known as Konoha no Kiroi Senko, Konoha's Yellow Flash, and the Yondaime Hokage. As the people stared at the Raikage, who had not moved or spoken since taking off his mask and Kage hat, many different thoughts went through their minds as they looked at the now revealed Raikage. The Yondaime Hokage, thought Shinran in disbelief. Namake's, thought Orochimaru in anger and confusion at the Yondaime being alive, as he knew that he couldn't have been brought back from the dead, as the only way he could be was by the Kuchiyos, Edo Tensei, summoning, in pure world resurrection, and he was the only person alive to be able to use it, hence it was impossible for anyone to know it. Not to mention the fact that the technique could only bring a person back from the dead for a short time, and the Raikage had been around for years. Minato, thought Jiraiya, who still could not believe that his former prize student was alive and was the Raikage. Sensei, thought Kakashi, who like Jiraiya was finding hard to accept that it was his former sensei, especially since he saw his body after the Kyuubi attack. The Yondaime, thought Shizen, who like many people were wondering if this was some kind of trick. Kiroi Senko, thought Ryoku with near unbridled fury and rage at seeing the man he hated more than anyone else in the world and personally blamed for all the shame and humiliation he had suffered during and after the Third Great Shinobi World War. The man he had believed to have been dead for over 22 years, after defeating the Kyuubi and robbing him of his revenge. "It's not possible, you can't be the Yondaime, he's dead!" cried Ryoku angrily, as he didn't really know whether to be happy that he was alive, so that he could finally get his revenge on the Yondaime and kill him himself, or furious simply because he was still alive. Since when he first heard that Yondaime had died defeating the Kyuubi, he had been furious, and had destroyed his office in rage at how the Yondaime cheating him of his vengeance. But later on he took solace in the fact he was dead, but seeing him, or at least someone who looked like him right in front of him, made him feel as if he had been tricked somehow. "You're right, I'm not the Namake's Minato," replied the Raikage, as he spat out Minato's name as if something vile. "Then who are you?" asked Shinran. At this a small smirk appeared on the Raikage's face, as he was going to enjoy the look on their faces in the next moment or two. "I'm his son. Sensei had a son, Bibi, but how, when?" thought Kakashi. "The Yondaime had a son? Did he have some kind of fling with a Kumo Kunoichi or something?" cried Kiba in shock like everyone else, at the fact that the Raikage was the son of Konoha greatest shinobi and hero as well as its strongest Hokage. Although it made some sense as to why he looked like the Yondaime considering he was his son, but even still many found it hard to accept. But as shocked as everyone was, two people were more shocked than everyone else was. These people were Tsunade and Jiraiya, who now knew exactly who the Raikage really was. It can't be, it just couldn't be him, can it?" thought Tsunade in disbelief and in a way a small twig of hope. "I don't believe it, can it really be him? But if it is, then how did he find out? And how can he be alive? The toad said he was dead?" thought Jiraiya, as he dared believe what Tsunade was starting to believe. "You're lying, that's impossible, there's no possible way that bastard had a son or even a child. If he did I would have known about it," cried Ryoku with rage, as the very notion of the Yondaime having a bastard offspring made him furious beyond words, as his very existence was a mockery to him, as it was as if the Yondaime was mocking him from beyond the grave, telling him that he still lives on through his son. "I can assure you that it is true, and I can also assure you that I am no more fond of being his son than you are of knowing that I even exist," replied the Raikage. "My existence was a closely guarded secret for fear of my father's enemies finding out I existed, hence very few people knew that I was his son. As they knew that people like you, Ryoka-san, would hunt me down and kill me for my father's offensives against you and simply because I was his son. If this is true, then why is it that you're with New Kumo and not with Konoha?" spoke Orochimaru, as the very idea of the Yondaime having a child without him knowing about it was infuriating, as he made it a point to know about important things happening in Konoha after he left the village, and the fact that the Yondaime having a child was of great importance. due to the fact that the Yandame's offspring may become like its father, where it could be either a great threat to him or a powerful new vessel for him. Simple, really. I was banished from Konoha, replied the Raikage, shocking the anti-Konoha coalition leaders as well as the observing groups, although a certain Nara and Aburaim eyes widen in realization, now realizing who the Raikage really was. That's impossible. Konoha would never banish the son of their greatest Hokage and hero, spoke the Mizuki Shiro, as he didn't believe that Konoha would be foolish enough to banish the son of its greatest Hokage. Oh, they would if they didn't know my full heritage, since as I said very few knew my true lineage, not to mention they would do so if they believed it was in their best interest, replied the Raikage. Even if this was true, what possible reason would they have to banish, as I can see no reason why they would do such a thing, answered Orochimaru. Haven't you figured it out already, Hibi-team? Asked the Raikage with a sneer. It seems the term genius was given to just about to anyone in Konoha, back when you were a kid. This remark, of course, did not sit well with Orochimaru, as if there was one thing he prided above all things and would not allow to be insulted, it was his intelligence, where he then glared at the Raikage angrily for his remark. Well then, allow me to help you and think carefully, Hibi-team. Don't I remind you of someone else you know from Konoha? Spoke the Raikage, with a mocking-like tone of voice. I have foiled your plans 3 times in my youth. I'm the son of a Hokage from Konoha. I was banished from the village, because they believed I was a threat to it, and I was born 22 years ago. Upon hearing the last part, Orochimaru's eyes suddenly widened in realization and shock, as he had figured out who the Raikage really was. Impossible! It can't be you! It's not possible! You're dead! At this the Raikage sneered. I am afraid the rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated, as I am clearly alive and well. Upon hearing this, the Mizukage, Shinrin, Doku and the Tsuchikage turned to look at Orochimaru. Orochimaru, you know him? Asked Doku in confusion, as clearly Orochimaru knew the Raikage. Yes, in a way, replied Orochimaru in angry confusion and disbelief as he silently cursed himself for being so blind and not seeing it long ago, as well as angry at being duped so easily. What do you mean in a way? Do you know him or not? Asked Shinran angrily, as he wanted answers like most of the people who were watching this altercation. But before Orochimaru could answer Shinran, the Raikage answered for him. Allow me to answer that question for you, Shinran-san, for you see, Orochimaru did know me long ago when I was younger, although he did not know of my true heritage, where like most people he looked down on me like I was not worth noticing, believing I was worthless. But as he knows now, it was grave error on his part, but still allow me to reintroduce myself. My real name is Uzumaki Naruto, Rokudan Raikage of New Kumogakure, also known as Kami no Raiden, God of Thunder and Lightning, and current container of the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Yoko. Son of the Konoha no Shinku Ikari, Konoha's Crimson Fury, Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato, Yandame Hokage of Konohagakure, also known as Konoha no Kiroi Senko, Konoha's Yellow Flash. With the observing group upon hearing this, everyone that had not realized the Raikage's identity was shocked beyond all words. As to say the Konoha and Suna groups were shocked, would be like saying that Jiraiya was only a little perverted, as the word shock did not even come close to describing how they were feeling right now. The reaction among everyone else was very much similar, although there were some reactions that were noteworthy. Naruto, he's alive! Cried in disbelief Kiba, who like everyone was utterly stunned beyond words. Naruto-kun lives and is the Raikage! Cried in utterly shocked Lee. The Raikage is the Kyubi Jinchuriki that was said to have been killed by the Akatsuki 9 years ago? Spoke Ryoka shock. Oyabun, boss, said Konohamaru, with tears in his eyes as he finally realized that his older brother figure was alive and in front of him. Where he didn't know whether to be happy that he was alive or be angry that he let them all think he was dead, although he was more happy than angry. Moegi and Udon were also equally overjoyed to see that their boss was alive, much like Konohamaru. Naruto, muttered in utterly stunned Sakura as she still could not believe that Naruto alive and was the Raikage of all people. Naruto-kun, thought Hinata as tears of joy started to fall from her eyes, as she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Naruto was alive and was the Raikage. She also could not help wondered if this was some kind of dream, where Naruto was somehow alive, but yet she knew it wasn't, it was real, Naruto was alive and in front of her. Naruto is the son of Kushina-sama, but how? I knew they had the same last name, but the books I read about her stated that she had no children or other living relatives. Thought Tenten, for when she first met Naruto, and heard his last name. She had thought he had some blood relation to Uzumaki Kushina. But all the books she had read about her told Tenten that she had none, although she had read that Uzumaki had been a fairly common name in Yuzuno Kuni, Whirlpool Country, the country that Uzumaki Kushina was originally from. Hence then Tenten had always believed that Naruto's was just the child of refugees that came from Yuzuno Kuni to Konoha, after Yuzuno Kuni and Yuzushiogakure, the village hidden among whirling tides, were destroyed in the Third Great Shinobi World War. Jiraiya! Is what Naruto said true? Is he really Sensei's son? Please tell me it isn't. Spoke Kakashi, for even though was overjoyed at the fact that his former student was alive and was as shocked as everyone was, that he was the legendary Raikage, he still needed to know the truth. At this Jiraiya lowered his head, where no one could see his eyes, and simply said, "It's true." Upon hearing this, a pained look came across Kakashi's face, after which a look of shame and self-loathing appeared on it, although no one could see it due to his mask. It was hard enough for him knowing the fact that he had failed Naruto as his sensei, where he had turned his back on Naruto and focused most his time on Sasuke and not enough on Naruto, believing that Sasuke was in need of more attention than Naruto. But with the fact of learning that Naruto was his sensei's son, the man who trained him and who he owed so much to, was enough to make Kakashi feel like committing seppuku. As he had turned his back on Naruto, his student, his comrade, his teammate and his sensei's son and legacy, as well as disgracing everything that his father had once stood for. "Sensei, please forgive me, I've been a blind utter fool," thought Kakashi as he was on the verge of falling to his knees and cry, at his own shame and how he disgraced. Kakashi wasn't the only one that had taken the news of Naruto's lineage hard, the other was Hayashi, who had been friends with the former Hokage in their youth, as the fact of learning that he had helped banish his friend's only son was yet another entry to Hayashi's long list of failings and disgraces. "Uzumaki, you truly are the most unpredictable and surprising person I have ever met," thought Gaara with a slight smile at seeing his friend and fellow Jinchuriki alive, after he got over the shock that Naruto was alive and was the Raikage. The only real person among the observing group that did not take well to Naruto being alive was Sasuke. "The dope alive! And is the Raikage? But how? And how on earth did he gain such incredible power? It's just not possible," he thought with anger and confusion. With Naruto, Orochimaru and the others as all the non-new Kumo people were gawking at the fact that Naruto was alive and was the Raikage, Orochimaru quickly regained himself and smirked sinisterly as if he wasn't worried at the fact that Naruto was the Raikage. Well, Naruto-kun, so you're the Rokudan Raikage. I have to say you never cease to surprise me, as I was certain the Akatsuki had finally caught you and extracted the Kyuubi from you, but it seems despite your new rank you're still the same naive young fool I met before, who likes playing the hero for Konoha despite after what they've done to you. You must be a glutton for punishment. As one would think that after they banished you from the village, you would have left Konoha to be destroyed instead of saving it," spoke Orochimaru with amused smirk. Naruto of course responded to Orochimaru's remark with his own smirk and replied, "Weren't you listening to me earlier, Hibi team? I don't care what happens to Konoha. I came here to protect my real home, New Kumo, and the Heavenly Alliance, as I know your plans to attack it after you had dealt with Konoha and Suna." Upon hearing this, many of the Konoha members of the group were shocked to hear this, as they never expected Naruto to say that he no longer cared for Konoha. But they quickly realized that none of them could blame him for feeling this way, since Konoha had indeed betrayed him when they banished him. The only question was, if he no longer cared about Konoha, did he also no longer care what happened to them as well? "Enough of all this drabble, it's time for you to die, bastard child of the Yondaime," cried Ryoku as he charged forward and cried out, "Iwa no Yoroi, stone armor!" Where Ryoku encased his body in stone and charged forward at Naruto with his right fist forward. Within seconds the Tsuchikage and crossed the gap between them, as the Iwa no Yoroi had not affected Ryoku's speed in the least. Just as Ryoku sent his fist forward to hit Naruto, Naruto blocked his punch with his right arm with little trouble, or even being forced back by the punch, much to Ryoku's surprise. But how? His arm should have been shattered from that hit. He thought, as with his Iwa no Yoroi, Ryoku's already great strength was greatly enhanced further, but as he wondered this, both he and the others quickly realized how he did it, as Naruto's arm was glowing bright blue, showing that Naruto was covering it with a massive amount of chakra. With the observing group, "How did Naruto-san block that attack like that? There's no possible way he could have blocked that attack with just his arm," spoke Yamato. As he remembered fighting an enemy shinobi capable of using that technique, hence he knew how much it would enhance a user's strength. Yeah, and why is his arm glowing blue? Asked Kiba. He used his chakra, stated Jiraiya with a slight frown. What do you mean by that, Jiraiya-sama? Asked Choji, not getting what Jiraiya meant. When someone like Naruto is naturally born with high amount of chakra, they don't have much control over it, but over time with the right training they gain better control over it. But even still, it's very hard for them to be able to do simple techniques that only require very small amounts of chakra, but easy when doing techniques that require large amounts of chakra and can remain unaffected by them. The technique Naruto is using is a very old technique created for people like Naruto, with a large chakra reserve, where they can harden their chakra around their bodies to act as a barrier or armor, if you will, to reduce the impact of attacks on them, if not negating them completely, said Jiraiya, shocking many people of hearing of such a technique. Tsunade of course nodded her head in agreement. I've heard of it as well, as it is said it takes a massive amount of chakra given how it's strong enough to be seen and take the damage, and it takes a great deal of control to use it. But still, I've never actually seen anyone use before, especially not without having some heavy side effects after releasing that much chakra, spoke Tsunade. After blocking Ryoka's attack, the others watched Naruto then disappeared in a bright blue flash and reappeared in midair in front of Ryoku, with lightning around his leg, and did a quick midair spin kick that sent Ryoku flying backwards to a building behind him and at the same time cracking his stone armor. Was that lightning right on no Yoroi, lightning release armor? Asked Kakashi when he saw Naruto leg with lightning around it. No, it wasn't, spoke Yujito. What was it then? Asked Tenten. It was a technique called Raiken, Thunder Fist, that the Raikage learned from one of our shinobis that allow a user to enhance his speed and strength greatly and go far beyond his normal limits. By using his lightning chakra to enhance it and doesn't require as much chakra as Raiten no Yoroi does, replied Yujito, surprising many. So it basically like Tsunade-sama superhuman technique, spoke Sakura. In a way, yes, replied the new Kumo Kunoichi. And what exactly does one have to do to be able to do such a technique? Inquired Sasuke, as a technique like that he could very useful to him. Wouldn't you like to know, Uchiha? Sneered Yujito, as she knew why Sasuke had asked her that, not to mention she had a strong dislike of the Uchiha like the rest of Naruto wives, due to the fact that the man tried to kill the man they loved when he was trying to save him. Upon hearing Yujito's reply, Sasuke narrowed his eyes, but said nothing and continued to watch Naruto fight, to see how strong his former teammate had really become. With Naruto, Orochimaru and the others after Naruto sent the Tsuchikage flying across into another building, the Mizukage decided to try and take advantage of Naruto having his back turned and fired a powerful spiraling water attack from his hand and cried out, Suetun, Hahanryu, water style, tearing torrent. But when the water hit Naruto, he turned into a puff of smoke, revealing him to be Kagebushin, shadow clone. By the time he realized that the Naruto he had hit was a Kagebushin, the real Naruto appeared in front of him with lightning around his fist and smashed it into Shiro's face, where like the Tsuchikage he was sent flying into another building nearby. After sending the Mizukage flying, Naruto then quickly dodged several poison-tipped kunai thrown at him by Doku, who then summoned a poison tanto blade from a storage seal tattooed on his arm and charged Naruto with it. The poison that coated the blade was a special poison that was able to sever the brain signals controlling the neural impulses for movement in the limbs of the victim, regardless of where they were struck. But unlike regular paralysis poisons, the pain receptors and nerve endings were unaffected by the weapon, so the victim could still feel pain, even in a paralyzed limb. But despite Doku's best efforts, Naruto was easily able to dodge his attacks with his superior speed, which was until Doki used a one-handed hand seal to create Doton, Doria Taiga, Earth style, Earth Flow River, causing a river of mud to appear underneath Naruto and throw him off balance, giving Doku the chance to slash Naruto on both his arms and his right leg, leaving Naruto's arms useless and kneeling on his left leg. Don't bother trying to move, Raikage. The poison on my tanto is a special mixture I had planned to use on the Hokage, where it severs the brain signals controlling the neural impulses for movement in the limbs of my victim, regardless what I slash. But unlike regular parallelizing drugs, this one allows you still feel pain, gloated Doku, believing he had Naruto. But his gloating quickly ended, when Naruto suddenly smirked, where he then disappeared and reappeared in front of Doku, and punched him in the gut, making the man keel over slightly and drop his tanto. I am impossible, how did yo dash? Said Doku in pain, but was interrupted by Naruto. Clearly you've either forgotten or were never informed of my second bloodline special ability. When Doka heard this, he suddenly remembered during one of the meetings he and the others had with Orochimaru, where Orochimaru mentioned how the Raikage was a dual bloodline holder and had a bloodline called the Shinjukokai, body renewal, which allows the holder to survive any otherwise normally fatal damage and instantly heal from the damage, as well as allows the user to be extraordinarily resistant to diseases, drugs, and toxins where they would be virtually useless against him, as he would recover from them quickly. Upon realizing this, Doka cursed himself for being so stupid, forgetting something so important, but before he could continue on with curing himself, Naruto gave him a swift kick to the face, sending him across the other end of the roof. Where as soon as he did, Shinran came at him with his katana and was about to sever Naruto's head off, but just before he could, Naruto quickly took out a simple wooden sword handle, where he quickly held it up against Shinran's katana where it blocked his attack, much to the surprise of everyone. Since no blade came out of the sword handle, where to everyone, it seemed as if there was some kind of invisible blade was blocking Shinran's katana. Deciding to try and figure out what was going on, Sasuke activated his Sharingan, while Kakashi uncovered his own. When they used their Sharingans, they saw that there was indeed a blade coming out of the sword handle, an invisible blade of wind. When Kakashi told the others this, many of them were naturally surprised by this, especially Temari, as she knew the level of mastery and amount of control over wind chakra it took to use such a technique. As wind attacks like her sensei Baki's Kaze no Yaiba, Blade of Wind, took a great deal of control over wind ninjutsu to use, but attacks like that only create wind blades that would last only a few seconds and attack in a gust of wind. Naruto's wind blade was far more refined, where he actually created a solid invisible blade of wind in the shape of a blade with no blade tip or kunai blade tip to channel and enhance it through. The only thing he used was a sword handle to channel his wind chakra through, and used it as a conductor. So to help form the wind blade shape, where he could also maintain it and use it in a fight such as this. Temari herself had to admire Naruto's skill in wind ninjutsu, as her sensei Baki had tried himself to follow a similar line as Naruto had and create a solid sword of wind. As he knew how valuable an invisible sword of wind would be in combat, as the enemy would be unable to see how long the blade was and would find it hard to dodge it, as well as blocking it in a fight, as it would cut through most things. But all of her sensei's attempts in creating it had failed. When Naruto blocked Shinran's attack, he then started to push Shinran back, while at the same time cutting Shinran's katana in two. Seeing his katana being cut, Shinran quickly jumped away from being cut in two himself, but as he did, Naruto made a diagonal slash at him, which he was able to avoid. Although he did have a slash cut on his breastplate armor, as his armor had narrowly protected him from any harm from the blade of Naruto's wind sword. Throwing away his broken katana, and deciding to go for something else, Shinran quickly did a few quick set of hand seals and then cried, "Raitun, Shurdan, lightning style, violet lightning!" And unleashed a massive charge of lightning from his hand that formed a wide blast aimed at Naruto. Naruto of course quickly countered with a signal one-handed hand seal and cried out, "Futon, Fahiki, wind style, wind wall, B." Where as soon as the massive blast of lightning was about to hit Naruto, it suddenly hit an invisible barrier that everyone quickly realized was a wall of wind. Not to be deterred, Shinran quickly appeared to the left side of Naruto, doing several more hand seals and cried out, "Raitun, Raryu, lightning style, lightning dragon." Sending a massive dragon made out of lightning at Naruto, who quickly summoned several shurikens from a storage seal tattooed under his wrist and channeled a large amount of wind chakra into them. After which, he then threw them at the lightning dragon coming at him, where the wind-enhanced shurikens were increased in length and density, along with their cutting power, thanks to the wind chakra that Naruto channeled into them, and took the shape of large Fuma shurikens. The wind-enhanced shurikens quickly cut through the lightning dragon with ease, thanks to wind being strong against lightning, where it then dissipated, due to it being cut up. Shinran quickly used a Kawarimi no Jutsu, body replacement technique, to replace himself with a large piece of rubble, which was cut up by the wind-enhanced shurikens Naruto threw. But as soon as he reappeared, Naruto appeared underneath him and delivered a sharp kick to the chin, almost identical to Lee and Guy's Konoha Shofu, Leaf Rising Wind, and sending Shinran into the air. After which Naruto disappeared in a bright blue flash and reappeared above Shinran and delivered a sharp falling axe kick and sent him crashing to the roof, where he made a large dent in the roof floor and cracking several ribs. But as soon as Naruto landed on the roof again, he suddenly felt a stab in his back from a kunai, where when he looked behind him he saw Orochimaru standing behind him smirking, and holding the kunai that was stabbed in his back. The third rule of being a shinobi Naruto-kun expected the unexpected, spoke a smirking Orochimaru, although he quickly stopped smirking when he saw a smile on Naruto's face as well. Maybe you should follow your own advice, spoke Naruto, after which he then blew up. Fortunately though for Orochimaru, he was able to move out of the way in time before he could be seriously hurt. Bunshin Daibakuha, clone great explosion. When did he learn that technique? He thought as he moved out of the smoke-filled area of the explosion. But as soon as he did, he found Naruto coming at him with his wind sword and slicing off one of his arms with it, causing the snake Sannin to cry out in pain before he shunshined, body flicker, to the opposite end of the roof where Naruto was. After reappearing at the other end of the roof, Orochimaru then opened up his mouth to an impossible width where, much to the disgust of the observers, a new Orochimaru with both arms and no injuries regurgitate out of the old Orochimaru, much like a snake shedding his old skin, while the old Orochimaru feel like dead skin. After renewing himself, Orochimaru was then joined by his allies, who were still in relatively good fighting condition, as Ryoka's Iwa no Yoroi had kept him from suffering any major harm despite being broken by Naruto's lightning-enhanced kick. Shiro was also in good enough condition, as just when Naruto was about to punch him with his lightning-enhanced fist, he had used his Mizu no Yoroi, water armor, D, to cover himself in a thick layer of water. So to reduce the damage of Naruto's attack, although it was a bit sizzled due to it was a lightning attack, he was hit and water conducts lightning. Doku and Shinran were also in fairly good fighting condition, despite the minor injuries they had suffered from fighting Naruto one-on-one with the observing group. Well, looks like round 1 goes to Naruto, commented Jiraiya. Although that was only the opening fight, as none of them were being serious or going all out. At this, many of the others watching the fight nodded their heads in agreement, as they knew this as well. But even still, the odds are against Naruto, as it's 5-1 with 3 of them being Kage level and the other 2 being High Jonin level, spoke Tsunade. Then we should stop staring and go and help him, cried Konohamaru, as he was about to call Enma and have him change into his Kongonia, adamantine staff, form. But before he could, someone put their hand on his shoulder and stopped him from going. When Konohamaru turned around, he saw it was Killer Bee who stopped him. Yo, a squirt better stay back in yo place or yo liable wind up dead, spoke Killer Bee. Like the hell I going to stay here and do nothing but watch? I'm going to help Ni-san, rounded Konohamaru and tried to get out of Killer Bee's grip, but it was too tight. I suggest you listen to Killer Bee-san, Konohamaru-san, as he is right, you would only get in the way and get killed, spoke Zhuge Liang. Don't talk to me like I'm some little kid, I'm more than strong enough to help Ni-san, replied Konohamaru. Maybe so, but the Raikage doesn't require your help, replied Fu. Then why don't you guys help, as aren't you guys supposed to be his bodyguards, replied Kiba. The very young and brave rush into battle head-on, when they need not to, while the wise wait patiently until the time is right and they are needed, spoke Zhuge Liang suddenly. And what's that supposed to mean? Growled Konohamaru angrily. He means that if we rush off into a fight like that, we just get in the way. The best thing we can do is wait and watch and see if he does need us, although I doubt he will, replied Yujito. How can you say that? You can see what Naruto is up against. As strong as he is, even he can't go against 3 Kage-level shinobi along with 2 High Jonin-level shinobis by himself. He needs help, said Tsunade angrily. The Rokudaime does not need our help, for as Jiraiya-san said, this fight is yet to truly start, as both the Rokudaime and his opponents have only been testing one another. Once the Rokudaime has become serious, Orochimaru and the others will stand little chance against him, spoke Okatsu. You can't be serious? Stated Sakura, as like the others she found it hard to believe that Naruto would be that strong. Shoo w fools and tools and watch and see, this fight gonna get poppin' a whole Nona level, spoke Killer Bee suddenly as he pointed towards Naruto, where the other quickly turned to watch. With Naruto, Orochimaru, and the others. It seems that you will not make this easy, will you, Naruto-kun? Spoke Orochimaru with a sickening smirk, as he and the others decided that they should now attack together at same time. You know me, Hibi team, I never do things the easy way, replied Naruto, with his own little smirk. Indeed, but still you stand no chance against all 5 of us at once, said Orochimaru. Oh, I wouldn't be so sure of that, Orochimaru, as I haven't even gotten serious yet, said Naruto. Who do you think you're speaking to, boy? Sneered Ryoku. Don't speak out of your league, you may be strong, but you're nowhere near strong enough to take on all 5 of us by yourself. Well then let's just see, once I'm fully powered up, sneered Naruto as he then fell into a horse stance. DBZ Super Saiyan 3 theme. As soon as Naruto fell into his horse stance, he began to summon his chakra. Quickly his chakra started to rise up as it began to surround him and form around him as it continued to grow and grow more and more. Soon enough the storm clouds above them started to grow darker, the wind started to blow stronger, and the lightning in the sky became fiercer. On board the Raikage personal airship. Commander Lu Xun, sir, the storm outside is becoming fiercer and the other ships are reporting difficulty in controlling themselves in the air, as are the Skyhawk ninjas. Knowing that storm was becoming stronger because of Naruto charging up to fully power, Lu Xun knew what to do. Lieutenant, order all Skyhawk ninjas to land on the village and assist our forces on the ground and have all our ships fall back outside the village. Ordered Lu Xun. Sir? Asked the confused lieutenant. The Raikage is powering up, that's why the storm has become stronger, and if we don't get our ships out of this area then we will be brought down by the storm, and so will our Skyhawk ninjas if they don't land quickly. Spoke Lu Xun. At this the young lieutenant paled slightly as he had heard the stories of what kind of damage the Raikage could do when powering up or fully powered up, after which he then quickly began doing what Lu Xun ordered him to do. With Naruto, Orochimaru and the others, as Naruto continued to power up, his power grew higher and higher, while the storm in the sky became fiercer and fiercer. As Naruto power grew, the more concerned Orochimaru and the others grew, as they had not predicted that Naruto would be this strong, and yet his power was still growing more and more with each passing second. How is this possible? It's clearly not the Kyuubi's power. So how can he have this much power? And how did he get such power even if he has the Ramberka, Stormbreaker, limit? Thought Orochimaru with concern and some fear at the power that he was feeling and seeing coming from Naruto. With the observing group as Naruto was powering up, none of the non-new Kumo observers could believe the power that Naruto was releasing, and it just seemed to continue on and on. I knew the kid had high chakra levels, but still, how can he have this much power without using any of the Kyuubis? Spoke Jiraiya out loud as he couldn't sense any of the Kyuubi's power coming from Naruto. I know, I didn't think power levels like this were possible, yet it just kept growing, said Tsunade. Naruto, is this really you? Thought Sakura in awe of Naruto growing power. You've grown, Naruto! Thought Kakashi in astonishment at Naruto already great power that just seemed to grow more and more. He then quickly uncovered his Sharingan eye, for although he could not see the chakra inside Naruto's body, he could watch his chakra that he continued to release and continued growing. Sasuke, Hanbai, Hayashi, Niji and Hinata also followed suit with Kakashi's line of thought as they watched with their own digitsus. With Naruto, Orochimaru, and the others. How the hell is this even possible? Cried Shiro as sweat started pouring down his face, as he had never felt power like this, as Naruto power level were already far higher than his own. I don't know, cried Doku in disbelief. Orochimaru, we have to kill him now while we still can. If he keeps like this, we won't be able to stop him, spoke Shinran. As he was well beyond being worried at Naruto's growing power, as his chakra was so strong it was clearly visible, and was swirling around him like a growing tornado. Agreed, we need to hit him all at once, spoke Orochimaru, as the others quickly nodded their heads, where there quickly began forming seals for their jutsus. Doton, Doryuden, Earth Style, Earth Dragon Bullet, cried Ryoku. Suiton, Suikoden no Jutsu, Water Style, Water Shark Missile Technique, cried Shiro. Sandaban, Thunder Burn, cried Shinran. Katon, Zukaku, Fire Style, Intelligent Hard Work, cried Doku. Kairyo Kunafuha, Powerful Wind Wave, cried Orochimaru. The 5 attacks quickly flew towards the powering up Naruto, who couldn't move due to powering up, with great speed. When the others saw the attacks heading towards him, some shouted out to Naruto, warning him and telling him to move. Naruto! Shouted Tsunade. Naruto-kun! Cried Hinata, fearing for his safety. Move, Naruto! Cried Sakura. Get out of the way, you idiot! Cried Kiba. But Naruto didn't move. He even smiled slightly as he saw the attack coming at him. Within seconds they hit Naruto, and exploded, destroying parts of the roof and forcing Orochimaru and the others, leaders of the coalition, to jump away to another rooftop. Before any of them could even gloat about killing Naruto, they quickly realized that they were still sensing Naruto power, which was still growing, where as soon as the smoke from the explosion was blown away, they saw Naruto, still powering up, with his chakra still growing higher and higher. Is that all you guys got? Asked Naruto with a slight smirk, as he continued powering up, which infuriated the anti-Konoha coalition leaders. Because you should know I'm only warming up, said Naruto, where he then started channeling even more chakra than before, causing the wind and lightning become even stronger as well. After which Naruto power started to explode outward, where a massive pillar of raw chakra that reached up into the sky was being released and was still growing in strength. Orochimaru and the other, along with Tsunade, Jiraiya and those watching quickly had to channel their chakra to their feet, to keep from being blown off the roofs they were on, as the power that Naruto was releasing along with the shock wave was threatening to blow them off the roofs. As they watched Naruto power, they still could not believe that all this power was coming from one person. Soon enough, the building that Naruto was on was starting to shake and fall apart from the chakra Naruto was releasing. But that wasn't the only thing that was shaking, as all the buildings in the village were beginning to shake from Naruto power being released, with the observing group. "This has gone way beyond Kage level," cried Tsunade with disbelief, as she covered her eyes from the wind. "I know! It's insane!" cried Jiraiya over the howling wind that was being caused by Naruto releasing his power. "Man, Naruto! Hardcore!" said Kiba in awe of Naruto power. "Incredible, Arg!" said Kakashi as he watched Naruto power grow, before he cried up in pain, as did Sasuke, Hanabi, Hinata, Neji and Hayashi, as they all held their eyes in pain, before they deactivated their dijutsus. "Hinata! Are you alright?" said a worried Kurenai as she went over to Hinata. "I'm fine, Kurenai-sensei, it just Naruto's chakra, it's so strong and bright that it blinded me," replied Hinata as she was still seeing spots from the brightness of Naruto's chakra. "The same thing happened to all of us all, I've never seen so much chakra come from one person," spoke Hayashi as he rubbed his eyes. "How can he have that much power?" commented astonished Hanabi. "I know, it's mind-boggling," stated Neji, who was just as astounded at the power Naruto was releasing as was Hanabi and everyone else there. Shino himself could not also believe the power he was seeing and sensing from Naruto, as his Kakachu were moving around his body like headless chickens, as they were completely overloaded by the chakra they were sensing from Naruto. With the rest of the village all around the village, the fighting between the two sides halted as they all saw the buildings in the village beginning to shake from Naruto's power, as well as feeling his still increasing power along with seeing the massive pillar of raw chakra coming from where Naruto was. No one dared move a muscle, as they were all completely overwhelmed at the sheer power they were all feeling at the moment. All around the village, any windows or glass objects that had not been broken from the fighting in the village started to crack and break from the power that was emanating from Naruto. The new Kumo shinobis of course knew who this power belonged to, where the older and more senior shinobis who had fought with Naruto during the Great Civil War smiled with pride at the Raikage, while the more younger and more recent new Kumo shinobis were frozen with awe, as they had all heard stories of Naruto's power during the Civil War, but had never seen it or felt it before. Many could not believe that their Raikage was this powerful. The Konoha, Suna and Shichibumo clan shinobis were all equally awed and amazed, as none of them had felt power like this before in their lives, as it felt almost godlike. Many already knew that it had to come from the Raikage, as they knew Jiraiya, Gaara and Tsunade did not have this kind of power, nor did Orochimaru or his allies. After which once again the Konoha, Suna and Shichibumo clan shinobis were thanking their lucky stars that the Raikage and new Kumo were on their side in the war. Upon feeling and seeing Naruto's power, the Kusugakure, Hidden Grass, and the Hanya clan shinobis were in a state of confusion, as many didn't know what to do when they felt Naruto's growing power. Many wanted to retreat knowing they would stand no chance against such power, while others didn't want to, fearing what would happen to them if their leaders found out they had retreated in face of the enemy. When the Oto forces felt and saw Naruto's power, many were already on the verge of retreating, but they did not, as they knew the price of retreating without Orochimaru's orders. The IWA shinobis were still holding their own, but when they felt Naruto's power their morale was starting to decrease, and with being attacked by the Konoha defenders in front and the new Kumo shinobis from behind, they were beginning to lose their belief in winning this war, as more and more of them fell, and as the battle went on the more they were being forced back on both sides and being squashed together by the two forces. This power! Who can be generating this much power? Thought Barugu in disbelief, as he knew it wasn't his father nor his allies, as none of them were this powerful, and he knew it wasn't the Hokage or Jiraiya, as they weren't this powerful either. He also knew it couldn't be the Kazekage, as even though he was a Jinchuriki he didn't feeling any of the type of chakra that would come from a Biju. Could it be the Raikage? No! It's not possible, no single person could have this much power, he thought furiously, after which an IWA shinobi appeared next to him. Sir, our forces are being decimated, Our shinobis are losing the will to fight and we're losing ground. I suggest that we call a retreat before any chance of escape becomes impossible, and we become completely surrounded and cut off from retreat by the new Kumo forces and the Konoha defenders," spoke IWA Shinobi. "Retreat!" shouted Burugu furiously. "Are you mad? We have Konoha by the neck and victory is within our grasp and you want us to retreat," he cried. "But sir, we fighting enemies on two sides and we're losing more and more shinobis by the minute and the Raikage is dash," said the IWA shinobi but was interrupted by Burugu. "The Raikage! I'll tell you here and now that this power is not the Raikage's. It is some kind of trick as no one can have that much power, and I will not allow any cowards to disgrace our village and let Konoha humiliate us again in battle. I don't care how many shinobis we lose, we will not let Konoha beat us again, nor will we let new Kumo. We will hold our ground till the last man," cried Burugu at the IWA shinobi. Before he then took off to retake command of his forces, when the Kirigakure, hidden mist, shinobis felt Naruto's power and saw the pillar of chakra go up into the sky, the shinobis quickly began to panic, as they all knew that the power they were feeling belonged to the Raikage, aka Naruto, as they had all heard stories from the survivors of those who had witnessed his power. "It's the Raikage!" spoke a frightened Kirinin. "How can you know?" asked another Kirinin. "Who else could have that much power other than him? Besides, who else would be leading his forces here, and who do you think created this storm?" rounded the first Kirinin. "What should we do?" asked a different Kirinin. "Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting out of here," replied a fourth Kirinin. "I'm with you," spoke the first Kirinin. "But what about the Mizukage?" spoke the second Kirinin. "Fuck him. Besides, I always hated the bastard. The Raikage can kill him for all I care, and good riddance to him. The only reason I'm here is because he killed my family if I didn't, and I want to see them again, so I'm not going to stay here and die for that bastard," spoke the first Kirinin. "He's right, we don't stand a chance against power like that, so let's get out of here," said the fourth Kirinin as he and the other Kirinin took off to get out of Konoha as quickly as possible. Soon enough the Kiri line along with the Sharknins fighting below the Hokage monument completely fell apart as hundreds of Kiri shinobis along with many Sharknins retreated and made a breakout to escape from Konoha. Those that could not escape quickly surrendered to the new Kumo, Konoha, Suna and Tsuchigumo clan shinobis without any resistance. After which the now free forces on the eastern side of Konoha along with the forces fighting below the Hokage monument quickly turned around and moved on to the other fronts, and started to drive the enemy out of Konoha. In the Konoha's hospital, Irika was sitting down on a chair as a young medic Nin looked at his injury, while Anko stood next to him. As the medic Nin began healing him, he suddenly stopped when he felt Naruto's massive chakra and was looking out the nearby window and towards the source of the chakra. Upon feeling the powerful surge of chakra, many others in the hospital, both medic Nins and patients, were wide-eyed as none of the non-new Kumo shinobis had felt anything like this before. After feeling the powerful surge of chakra, both Anko and Irika were wide-eyed and were looking out in the same direction as the medic Nin, as neither felt chakra as powerful and as large as this before. But as surprised as Anko was after feeling this power, Irika was utterly flabbergasted as he recognized the chakra signature, and it was one that he never thought he'd sense again. "Holy shit! Where is all this power coming from?" spoke Anko in complete shock. "It's the Raikage's," stated the young medic Nin, who was still staring out the window and at the large pillar of chakra that reached up to the sky. "The Raikage?" said Anko. "But that's impossible, no one person can generate that much chakra, it's inhuman." As she could not believe that the Raikage was this powerful, even if all the stories about him were true, it was simply impossible. "I can assure you it is, even though this is my first time seeing and sensing it. I have heard stories from my comrades who have, and their description all match this," stated the young medic Nin. Although to be true, the medic Nins found the words of his comrades did not do the Raikage's power justice, as this was beyond anything he had imaged, as it felt almost divine-like. At this Anko just gaped, as she still had trouble believing it. Irika just continued to stare out the window towards the pillar of chakra, with an expressionless look on his face, as he didn't know what to think or feel. "Naruto, see, could it really be you? No, it's no possible. It can't be. We found his blood and coat, but we never found his body. But still it not possible, even if he was alive there no way he could have become this strong. But this chakra is the same as Naruto's, it can't be anyone else. Naruto, can it really be you? Can you actually be still alive? Can you really be the Raikage?" thought Irika, as he argued with himself, as he still found it hard to accept that Naruto still could be alive and be the Raikage. Naruto! Though Irika again. With Soifin and Guren. After much battling with one another, both Soifin and Guren had jumped away from one another to analyze each other's condition. Both had some torn clothing and some cuts, but Guren was bleeding a bit more and was panting more as well, as she had been fighting with Yanto for a while earlier, while Soifin was still relatively fresh. Also as well, Soifin had several other advantages over Guren, such as she was much faster than Guren, and on more than one occasion Guren had lost sight of her, allowing Soifin to sneak up on her and nearly kill her or knock her out. Although luckily Guren was able to block or dodge her attacks just in time, but it had not been easy. Soifin also had the advantage of her lightning affinity, which was strong against her Shoton, crystal release, and could easily cut, precise or break through her crystal jutsus. As they studied each other for any weakness, they soon felt Naruto's rising chakra, as well as saw the massive pillar of chakra that was reaching up into the sky. "What is that?" spoke Guren out loud. "That would be my husband, powering up to kill your master. He can be an idiot at times, but when in battle he is virtually unstoppable," replied Soifin with a cold smirk. "Husband? You're his wife?" said a shocked Guren. "One of them, but that's beside the point, as your master is about to be sent on a one-way trip to hell, along with his associates by Naruto-kun," spoke Soifin. "That will never happen. Orochimaru-sama can never die," cried Guren angrily. "We'll see soon enough," said Soifin with another cold smirk before the two of them recommenced their fight. With Mitsuhide and Kabuto. Currently Kabuto was a few feet away from Mitsuhide, with several large wounds around him, and was panting quite heavily. His battle with Mitsuhide had not been going as well as he had hoped it would, as it was a completely one-sided battle with Kabuto on the losing end, as he couldn't get a solid hit on the man, solidifying that he was indeed worthy of his infamous reputation as a dangerous and deadly shinobi. Every time Kabuto tried to attack, Mitsuhide would block or dodge him and then counterattack. He was also much faster than Kabuto, making him hard to keep track of, and thanks to his Takugan, Hawkeye, he was able to easily keep track of Kabuto movements and see the weakness of his attacks. "Done already? I would have expected more from the right-hand man of Orochimaru," spoke Mitsuhide, but despite the remark Kabuto did not take the bait, as he was not about to fall for the same kind of tricks he himself played on others. By playing on their emotions and pride and making them lose focus in battle so that they would be easier to defeat. But even still Kabuto knew that it was doubtful that he could beat Mitsuhide, as Mitsuhide never wasted a single movement. He remained calm and collective the entire time, and any attack he made was done with the utmost precision and skill. Kabuto knew the best chance he had of surviving this fight was to make a quick escape, but the problem was that it was unlikely that Mitsuhide would just let him go, and it was highly unlikely he could escape, as Mitsuhide had been the head of Kiri's Oinin division when he was only 13, meaning that he could easily track down or simply kill Kabuto with little trouble if he tried to run off. As Kabuto was contemplating his options and what he should do, he suddenly felt a massive surge of chakra, after which he then turned to where he knew Orochimaru and the others were fighting and saw the massive pillar of chakra. As soon as Kabuto felt the massive chakra that was felt all over the village, he quickly recognized it as the Raikage chakra. But even though he recognized it, he still could not believe that all this power was coming from one man, even one as powerful as the Raikage. "Amazing, isn't it?" stated Mitsuhide, causing Kabuto to turn to him. "Even though I have seen him fight at full power on a few occasions, it never ceases to amaze me at the level of power he has. Power isn't everything, as the strongest shinobis doesn't assure victory. Often enough the most cunning fighter wins," replied Kabuto, as he was still confident that Orochimaru and the others could win, although there was a look of worry on his face as well. "True perhaps, but just as often, the one who wants the victory the most will win," spoke Mitsuhide. "But still I think it's about time we finish this." After which he fell into a quick sword stance and prepared to attack, while Kabuto prepared his curved kunai and prepared to defend himself. After which the two men soon recommenced their battle against one another. As Naruto power kept growing, everyone that was nearby him was being pushed back by the wind and the energy of Naruto growing power, despite the fact that they were all using their chakra to keep their feet stuck to the ground. The building he was underneath had now completely broken apart, due to the chakra output he was releasing, where Naruto was now floating in the air and a large crater was forming below him. Due to the chakra he was releasing, the village's buildings were shaking even more than before. All those nearby were eventually blown back a good bit away, as the force of Naruto's power was too much to stay close to. "It's unreal, how can he generate that much power?" said Shikamaru. "It's too much," cried Ino, as the chakra output that Naruto was giving out was beyond anything she had ever felt before. "Unbelievable!" cried Temari, as she still could not believe that this was the same silly loudmouth blonde she met all those years ago, and could not believe he had become this powerful. "What the hell has Naruto been doing? Better yet, what the hell has Zhuge Liang been teaching him?" cried Tsunade. "I don't know, but whatever the hell it is, it's worked," answered Jiraiya, as he still could not believe what he was seeing with his own two eyes, as it was beyond anything he had ever felt or seen in his life before. After a few more minutes, the storm above the sky and the shaking of the village's buildings only seemed to be getting worse, as many nearby buildings were falling apart, and the crater below Naruto was only getting bigger and deeper. Many people were starting to worry that the power Naruto was realizing was too much. "It feels like the whole village is shaking apart. If Naruto doesn't stop this, he'll destroy the whole village," cried a scared Sakura, as she never dreamed of anyone having this much raw power in her life. "Ni-san, what have you become?" thought Konohamaru in awe, as he watched Naruto's power grow. "Man, Naruto, he's on fire," said Kiba in astonishment. "Amazing," muttered a stupefied Kurenai. "The flames of youth are exploding from Naruto-kun," cried Lee. "Naruto-kun!" thought Hinata with awe. As all the other gawked at Naruto's incredible power, there was one person that was looking at him, with anger, rage, jealousy, and some small amount of fear. That person was none other than Naruto's former teammate and rival Sasuke. "Damn you, Naruto, damn you!" thought Sasuke, as he gripped his hand tighter with anger and made it bleed, as he looked at Naruto's still growing power, which was now at levels he didn't even think were possible. "No matter how far I come, no matter how hard I try, you're always one step ahead of me, laughing in my face. Why won't you leave me alone? Even after all the special training I've done with Kakashi and Danzo. You're still stronger, why you? Why is it always you? What is it that you have that I don't? What is it that makes fortune always smile on you? While I'm left with scrapes, what is it that makes you more special than me? I'm a descendant of the main Uchiha branch clan, while you're a low-talent loser who barely passed, even if you're the Yandame's son and the descendant of some know-nothing clan that lost their bloodline. Why is it that you have all this power while I've nothing?" thought Sasuke angrily, as he didn't believe that Naruto was worthy of having such incredible power. While he needed such power so to avenge his clan and family, Naruto didn't even have any real hate. He didn't know what it was like to truly hate a person like he hated Itachi. Yet Naruto had all this power, and it made no sense, as it went against everything that Sasuke believed and was taught to believe in by his clan. "Damn you, Naruto, why you?" thought Sasuke angrily. Soon after, the pillar of chakra started to recede, where Naruto was now surrounded by a large sphere of bright blue chakra. The lightning and wind was also begun to surround him and focus on him as if drawn to him. The sphere then began to glow brighter and brighter, where it was clear to everyone that the final build-up was about to be unleashed. They all quickly channeled large amount of chakra to their feet, so that they would be ready for the explosive release of chakra that was to come, when Naruto was finished powering up and would not be blown away by it. And as they suspected, a few seconds later Naruto finished powering up and released his excess chakra in a single massive blast, causing a massive blinding flash of blue light and shock wave, destroying several other buildings near him as well as causing many shinobis that were nearby to be blown away by the blast wave. Somehow though, Orochimaru and his allies along with Zhuge Liang, Tsunade, Jiraiya and others were able to keep themselves stuck to the roof floor of the buildings thereon, which had somehow survived being destroyed. Although when the bright light died down they saw that about 60 yards of the area that was around Naruto had been completely leveled, as all the buildings around him had been destroyed when he released his power. Also as well there was a massive crater in the center of the cleared area. But still that was not what had everyone, including Orochimaru and his allies, frozen in shock, disbelief and wide-eyed. What had them in shock was when they looked up at Naruto, who was still in midair thanks to his special levitating technique, too, where when they looked up, Naruto seemed like a completely different person. For when they looked up to him they still couldn't believe what they're seeing, for he seemed to glow bright blue all around his body, as if an aura that covered his entire body, with chakra clearly visible, literally surrounding him. Where everyone could clearly feel the power coming off him like giant tsunami waves and lightning bolts sparking all over his entire body, as if he really was a divine being of thunder and lightning. NDBZ's Super Saiyan 3 theme. Soon enough Orochimaru and the other coalition leaders quickly regrouped on the flat area that Naruto had destroyed while powering up, where they then stared up at Naruto. By just looking at him, made everyone's hair stand on ends at the raw power coming from Naruto. Upon seeing this, some of Orochimaru's allies like Doku were actually considering that even if they worked together, the likelihood of beating Naruto were very slim, as he had never felt or seen power like this before. Orochimaru, perhaps we should rethink our plan on attacking the Raikage, and make a tactical retreat and make a new plan to battle him at a later date, said the nervous Doku. Are you trying to run away, Doku, you coward? Spoke Ryoku, for although the level of power that he saw and felt coming from Naruto did concern him greatly, he was not about to let his arch-nemesis Sion live a day longer. I'm no coward, Ryoku, but we never accounted for the Raikage being here or him being the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi and being this powerful, replied Doku angrily. Even if he's more power than all of us, we're still vastly more experienced and skilled than him and can still overwhelm him, and it's 5-1, we can take him, spoke Shiro. As like Ryuko, he wasn't going to let the Raikage live to see tomorrow, not after all he had done to him. I have to concur with Shiro-kun and Ryoku-kun, we have come too far to give up now. Beside, I know this boy and I know how he thinks and fights. Therefore we can still win this battle, despite the immense power he possesses. Both Doku and Shinran frowned at hearing this, as they both had reservation about fighting the Raikage now, especially after the power he showed, but they decided to put them aside and go for it, and prepared to fight. Soon enough, Naruto slowly came down to ground level in front of Orochimaru and the others and spoke in a calm, cool voice. I'm sorry that took so long, but I haven't powered up to full power in a while, so I hope you're ready to get serious. Because I am. With Soifin and Guren, Shotan, Amawatari no Jutsu, Crystal Release, the Gods Crossings technique, cried Guren as she created a long stream of sharp crystals towards Soifin. Soifin of course countered with her own jutsu and channeled her lightning chakra into the blade point of her gauntlet, and thrust it forward, crying out, Sidorai Kiseisu, Sting Strike! After which a massive blast of lightning erupted from her gauntlet and towards Guren attack. The two attacks clashed head-on, where Soifin's Sidorai Kiseisu easily destroyed Guren's crystal attack and continued on towards Guren, who was narrowly avoided being hit by the attack. Guren then called her chakra and surrounded herself with crystal particles and condensed them into small crystal shuriken, and cried out, Shotan, Shuriken Ranbu, Crystal Release, Shuriken Wild Dance, where she fired hundreds of small crystal shurikens at Soifin. Seeing the hundreds of crystal shurikens heading towards her, Soifin quickly used her high-speed technique that she learned from Yoruichi and combined it with the Zanzo technique to create a dozen of afterimage clones of her. Unable to tell the difference between the clones and the real Soifin, Guren sent her crystal shurikens at all the Soifin's clones, hoping to hit the real one. Unfortunately, though, all the shurikens went through all the Soifins, showing that the real Soifin was not among them. As Guren looked around looking to where Soifin went, she quickly sensed something coming from above and looked up, to see Soifin coming down towards her with the blade point of her gauntlet once again encased in lightning. After which she then cried out, Raiseisu, Lightning Sting! Guren, although, was once again able to avoid being hit by Soifin's attack by flipping backwards. When Guren flipped away, Soifin hit the ground and stabbed her hand into it, where she created a small crater with dozens of large cracks around her. Seeing that Soifin's hand was stuck in ground from stabbing it with her Raiseisu, Guren decided to take advantage of her immobility and attack, where she then used her Kesho, Rakuku Shuriken, Crystal, Hexagonal Shuriken, to create a few dozen crystal shurikens in the shape of snowflakes. Seeing the shurikens, Soifin used a quick Kawarimi no Jutsu and replaced herself with a broken piece of wall that was nearby, just as the shurikens were about to hit her. Not to be deterred, Guren then quickly used her Kesho, Kyodai Rakuku Shuriken, Crystal, Giant Hexagonal Shuriken, and created a giant crystal shuriken that resembled a snowflake and threw it at Soifin when she reappeared. Quickly flipping over the giant crystal shuriken, Soifin soon realized that Guren's giant crystal shuriken was just a distraction, as she quickly looked up. When she sensed Guren above her and falling towards her holding a massive crystal lance in her right arm and crying out, Shotan, Kesho no Ransu, Crystal Release, Crystal Lance! Soifin quickly flipped away to avoid being hit, which she narrowly did, where Guren created a large crater in the ground from her attack, although when she did, Guren then used her Shotan, Kesho no Horu, Crystal Release, Crystal Wheel, and created a crystal wheel around herself and charged forward at Soifin. As Guren charged at her with her Kesho no Horu, Soifin power up her Shunko, Flash Cry, where she then charged head-on at Guren, where when the two attacks collided, a massive explosion erupted. This explosion destroyed several of the surrounding buildings around them and sent both kunoichis flying backwards. Fortunately, though, for both of them, they were able to regain themselves, as they still flew backwards and were able to land on their feet as they skidded on the ground. That attack, thought Guren. It must be the Shunko technique that she used while battling Jiraiya the Toad Sage, when she and her forces ambushed him at the old Kumo ruins. It's definitely an impressive technique, and I can see how she was able to beat Jiraiya with something like that in her arsenal, thought Guren, as she remembered the reports that Orochimaru's spy informed them, when Jiraiya returned from his intelligence mission in Kaminari no Kuni, Lightning Country. I must say, you impressive fighter, it is a shame that you are not with us, for Orochimaru-sama would greatly welcome someone of your skill into Odogekure, spoke Guren. Funny, I was thinking of the same kind of thing, with you joining us, as New Kumo could always use another powerful kunoichi, but regardless I suggest we finish this, spoke Soifun, where Guren nodded in agreement, and charged straight at Soifun. For the next few minutes the two women engaged in a fierce taijutsu battle, but it soon became clear that Soifun was winning as she was much stronger and faster than Guren, not to mention she was more skilled in taijutsu than Guren was. As Soifun fought with Guren, she quickly used her Zanzo and created an afterimage of herself, where as soon as Guren hit it and realized what it was, Soifun reappeared behind her and muttered out, "Dokuhari, poison stinger." Gee, and stabbed Gin in the back of her poison-tipped gauntlet blade. But instead of piercing Guren's flesh, Soifun felt her gauntlet blade hit something hard. Upon noticing this, Soifun was then punched hard in the gut by Guren, and was sent flying back several feet away. When Soifun looked up, she saw that Guren's skin was covered utterly in crystal, as she could see it from the way her skin was reflecting off the light of the sun like crystal. Upon seeing this, Soifun quickly realized that Guren had used her Kesho no Yoroi, crystal armor, to protect herself from her attack. She also quickly realized that not only did the technique protected her from attacks like her Dokuhari, but it also improved Guren's strength. Judging how hard she had hit her, quickly Guren charged at Soifun, using her Kesho no Yoroi to improve her physical strength. But just as she was about to hit her, Soifun sidestepped Guren's attack and avoided it, and then used her enhanced speed to reappear at the other end of the area. After which she then used her enhanced speed again to charge straight at Guren and thrusting her gauntlet forward and crying out, "Chimatakina no Hari, deadly sting!" With Soifun traveling at such incredible speed, Guren had no time to avoid Soifun's attack, where she easily pierced through Guren's crystal armor. But as soon as she did, Guren turned into crystal pieces, showing that Guren had somehow avoided being hit and replaced herself with a crystal clone. After realizing that the Guren she hit was a clone, Soifun quickly looked around her, where she quickly found Guren not far away standing on the top of a ruined wall doing several hand seals, where when she finished she then cried out, "Shotan, Hashokoryu, crystal release, tearing crystal falling dragon." After which, 5 massive pink-colored crystal dragon were created from the material that Guren had crystallized. Guren then jumped onto the middle dragon's head and had the other 4 crystal dragons attack Soifun. Seeing the crystal dragon coming towards her, Soifun quickly powered up her Shunko again, after which she then charged forward at one of the crystal dragon, where she then gave a powerful punch on the first crystal dragon's head, shattering it completely. After destroying the first dragon, one of the other crystal dragons tried to eat her by opening its jaws, but before it could, Soifun disappeared and reappeared over it, where she then delivered a powerful falling axe kick down on the crystal dragon and destroying it. With the second crystal dragon destroyed, Soifun quickly turned around to the third crystal dragon that was coming at her head-on. Seeing this, Soifun started to channel more of her chakra into her gauntlet, and then thrust her hand forward shouting out, "Sudarai Kiseisu!" and firing a massive blast of lightning at the crystal dragon, blowing it into pieces with a single hit. After the third crystal dragon was destroyed, the fourth one tried to come up at Soifun from behind. Knowing this, Soifun disappeared right before the crystal dragon could hit her. After which she reappeared at its side and delivered a powerful spinning kick, shattering its head and causing the rest of its body to do the same. After the 4 crystal dragons were destroyed, Soifun turned to the 5th and final dragon that Guren was on and disappeared again. Knowing what was about to come, Guren quickly jumped off the crystal dragon she was on, where as soon as she did, Soifun reappeared over the crystal dragon with her gauntlet thrust forward and crying out, "Chimatakina no Hari!" where she then delivered a powerful stab into the crystal dragon's head, causing it to crack, where the cracks then spread and all over its body, where it then broke apart and fell to pieces like all the rest. With all the crystal dragons destroyed, Soifin was about to deactivate her Shunko, as it ate up a lot of her chakra, and she had already used it 3 times today. But before she could, she suddenly felt an enormous buildup of chakra coming from above her. I never thought I would have to go this far and use this technique here, but it seems that I have no other choice, so prepare for my strongest attack, spoke Guren. As she hovered in the air inside a prism of crystal, she then focused her chakra into light through the prism and launches a powerful heat blast at Soifin, while crying out Shotan, Hishin no Yero, crystal release, arrow of light. Knowing she had only one other option, Soifin quickly powered up her Shunko to full strength, and then gathered most of her remaining chakra into her one hand and fired it in one concentrated blast of lightning energy, and cried out, Shunko! For a moment or two the two powerful energy blasts clashed with one another and fought for dominance. Slowly Guren heat blast was pushing Soifin's Shunko back. Seeing this, Soifin decided to go for broke and give it everything she got, where she channeled all her remaining chakra into her attack. With the added boost, Soifin's Shunko was able to push back Guren's attack right back at her. Unable to do anything, all Guren could do was watch with horror and scream, as her attack was forced back at her by Soifin's attack and hit her. After a massive explosion, Guren body fell to the ground not far from where Soifin was now, luckily though Guren's prism had protected her from the majority of the blast. But she was still badly hurt from the attack, with many burns and injuries, and was knocked unconscious from the blast. After the attack, Soifin fell to her knees panting and sweating heavily, as she used virtually all her chakra in that last attack, with hardly any left, and was completely drained physical, where she could barely stand let alone fight. Right after the battle ended, several of her Shaknins appeared. Soifin Taicho, are you alright? Asked a Shaknin with a yellow and black snake-shaped mask. I'm fine, grunted Soifin, not liking to show any weakness to her subordinates. Taicho, do you need medical treatment? Asked a Shaknin medic wearing a crane-shaped mask. Soifin of course grunted again in acknowledgement, whereas the Shaknin medic was healing her wounds and helping her recover her chakra from battle. Soifin turned to the snake-masked Shaknin. You snake! I want you and your team to go over there, and secure the Otonin over there. But Taicho, how can she be alive after receiving a directly hit from your Shunko? Spoke Snake. Trust me, she alive, as someone like her isn't easily killed, commented Soifin. Besides, my orders from the Raikage were to capture her alive if possible, as she is one of Orochimaru's chief lieutenants and will have valuable information about his organization, spoke Soifin. Hi, replied Snake and some of the other Shaknins, now understanding, where they then shunned Shin over to where Guren lay, and quickly secured her and stabilized her so that she'd be well enough to be moved to a more secure location until the battle ended. After some of the Shaknins left, to secure and capture Guren, the remaining others secured the area in case of enemy shinobis would come upon them and attack them, when Soifin was in her weakened condition from her battle with Guren. As the Shaknin medic healed her wounds and replenished her chakra reserves, Soifin allowed herself to let her guard down slightly, and rest for a few minutes by closing her eyes. But soon after she quickly opened them, after she heard and felt a powerful blast happening not too far away from where she and her subordinates were. When she opened her eyes, she saw a large mushroom-shaped cloud of smoke coming from the area, where she knew her husband Naruto was fighting Orochimaru and the other leaders of the enemy coalition. After seeing it, Soifin soon felt the massive source of chakra. Upon sensing it, Soifin immediately recognized it as Naruto's chakra, and could not help but have a small smirk on her face. The Raikage? Asked Crane, who already knew that answer to it though, as it was obvious. Soifin, of course, just nodded in acknowledgement, and signaled Crane to continue healing her. As Crane was doing so, Soifin closed her eyes again, with the small smirk still on her face, and thought, Naruto-kun certainly isn't holding anything back on them. With Naruto, Orochimaru and the others, after a massive explosion, Orochimaru and his allies were blown back, as their latest attack on Naruto had failed, as Naruto had sent them all flying back, after using a powerful wind ninjutsu attack. As Orochimaru skidded back and regained his footing, he frowned, as things were not going the way he thought they would. As the Naruto he was fighting now was not the same Naruto he knew from 10 years ago. This Naruto was not only stronger and faster, but was also much cleverer and more level-headed than before, not to mention far more deadly than he ever was before. Not like the hot-head young blonde, who would you rush head first into a fight without a thought or plan. Damn this brat, how could he have changed so much? He a completely different person from what he used to be like. He almost like a mountain, impassable, unmovable, unconquerable. No! I can't think like that despite how powerful has become. He's not unbeatable. I'll not let this impudent child beat me again, thought Orochimaru with angry as he glared coldly at Naruto. As the other leaders of the anti-Konoha coalition regrouped around one another, they prepared to attack him together one again, hoping to overwhelm if not find an opening to hit Naruto and kill him. Ryoka was the first of them to re-engage Naruto. He then cried out, "Try and dodge this, bastard! Doton, Doryo Dango, Earth Style, Earth Mausoleum Dumpling!" Where he then lifted up the very surface of the earth, and lifted a gigantic lump of earth out of the ground and threw it at Naruto. As the gigantic lump of earth flew towards him, Naruto just smirked, not the least bit worried by it, where just as it was about to crush him, Naruto quickly took out his wind sword handle that was on utility belt, and activated it, and then swung it in a vertical slash, cutting the lump of earth in two, where they split apart on either side of him. Not to be deterred, Shiro and Shinran quickly did a series of hand seal together where Shiro cried out, "Suetun, Baku Sui Shoha, Water Style, Exploding Water Colliding Wave," spitting out a giant wave of water. While at the same time Shinran cried out, "Raidenryu, Lightning Current!" The lightning quickly combined with the giant water wave, enhancing its power greatly. As the giant lightning enhanced wave came towards him, Naruto quickly did a quick set of hand seals and cried out, "Tenpa Midorite, Heavenly Wind Rage!" 3. After which a massive explosion of wind erupted in front of Naruto, where it blasted the powerful lightning-enhanced wave back at Shiro and the others with incredible force. Seeing the giant lightning-enhanced wave being forced back at them, where it was enhanced further by Naruto's wind attack, allowing the giant wave to move at a much greater speed and force than before. Shiro, Shinran, Orochimaru and the others quickly shunned Shin, Body Flicker, away, to avoid the attack, which destroyed many buildings and houses that were behind them and flooded several streets. After the attack, Doku appeared on Naruto's left side, several feet away from him, while Orochimaru appeared on Naruto's right side, at the same distance as Doku, where they then both fired their own independent attacks at Naruto on either side of him. "Doku Shadow, Venom Shot!" cried Orochimaru, as several snakes ejected out of his sleeve and fired several small shots of venom at Naruto. "Katan, Hosenka no Jutsu, Fire Style, Phoenix, Immortal Fire Technique!" cried Doku, as he spat out several small balls of fire at Naruto. As the attacks came at him, Naruto calmly did a single on-handed hand seal and spoke out, "Kujaku Senpujin, Peacock Whirlwind Formation," causing a vortex of wind to surround him and push the two attacks back at Orochimaru and Doku, who quickly dodged them. After their failed attack, Orochimaru and Doku rejoined Ryoku, Shiro and Shinran, where they all glared at Naruto, who just smirked back at them, as he put his wind sword handle back on his utility belt. "Is that all you got? Because if it is, then I'm afraid that this fight won't last much longer, and I won't really get much of a workout from you." At hearing this, the five men all growled angrily at the insult, where Orochimaru then spoke up, "Don't act so cocky, boy, this fight is far from over." After which he then opened his mouth, where extending a snake appeared out, which then opened its mouth as well, producing a katana handle, which Orochimaru then took and pulled out his Kusanagi no Tsurugi, Sword of Kusanagi, after which the snake then retracted back into Orochimaru's mouth. "Ah, the Kusanagi no Tsurugi, so you're finally getting serious. Well then, one legendary sword should be only matched by another legendary sword," spoke Naruto. At hearing this, everyone thought he was going to bring out the Nidaime Hokage's Raijin no Ken, Sword of the Thunder God, but to their surprise Naruto then took off the cloth-covered sword on his back. After which he then pulled the cord that kept the wrapped cloth around the sword off, and threw it away, where he then uncovered the top of the cloth off that was over the sword handle, revealing a small gold-colored face on the tip of the katana tsuka handle. The tsuka itself was white with gold-colored lines spiraling up to the tsuba, sword guard, which was also gold color, and shaped by 3 fang-shaped points, giving the appearance of a bird's claw. When Naruto grabbed the sword handle, a massive powerful pulse of chakra was felt throughout the village, causing both sides to once again stop their fighting after feeling it, but as quickly as it came it left, leaving many others wondering where it came from and what was it. Naruto then took off the rest of the cloth over the katana, revealing its white sheath, where he then threw the cloth into the blowing wind. After which Naruto then grabbed hold of the sword handle and spoke out, "Cry out into the soaring heavenly skies, Tengu!" and unsheathed the katana. Upon unsheathing the katana, a massive ear-splitting screech was heard all over the village, as if some gigantic bird was actually crying out to the heavens. As the screeching cry was heard, everyone that heard it either cringed in pain at the loud screech or had to cover his or her ears, since it became too much for them to hear, especially for those hearing it for the first time. With the observing group, "Damn, yo! I hate it when he does this, it ain't cool, it's a pain!" cried Killer Bee as he held his ears in pain at sound coming from the sword. "Stop your complaining, Bee, at least you don't have sensitive hearing, besides it's almost over," said Yujito as she was cringing in pain at the loud sound and was covering her ears as well. As thanks to hosting the Nibby, she had sharp cat-like hearing, which became sensitive when hearing loud noises. "Where the fuck is this noise coming from?" cried Kiba in pain, where like with Yujito, he had sensitive hearing thanks to his clan connections to their Niken. "It's coming from the katana!" cried Kakashi over the noise as he was cringing at the loud sound as well, while at the same time wondering what was with the katana that Naruto had. Soon after, the screeching noise died down, where they then got a better look at the katana, and saw that its blade was now glowing bright electric blue and was emanating lightning all around itself. "For that katana! It's not possible!" spoke Tsunade in surprise, as she instantly recognized the katana in Naruto's hand. "It is, but where did he find it? It's been lost for decades," asked Jiraiya with just as much surprise as Tsunade, with Naruto, Orochimaru, and the others. "Impossible, where did you find that blade and how can you even wield it?" cried Orochimaru in disbelief, knowing the katana, the moment he got a better look at it. At this, Naruto let out a chuckle at Orochimaru's confusion and anger, as he enjoyed infuriating the snake Sannin, after all the grief he caused him in the past. "You forget my reputation, Orochimaru, back when I was still with Konoha, as back then I was known as the most surprising ninja ever in Konoha, as I had a knack of making the impossible possible," sneered Naruto as he hung the sheath of the katana back around his back. "So it shouldn't be surprising that I now wield the sword of Tengu," with the observing group. "The sword of what?" asked Konohamaru in confusion as he had never heard of it before. "The sword of Tengu," spoke Tsunade grimily, as she looked at it. "What is this katana, Hokage-sama, as I have never seen or heard of such a weapon?" spoke Niji, as he could see that katana was actually emanating chakra by itself, which was something he didn't think was possible until now. "It is an ancient and powerful blade that was once wielded by the Naidame Raikage. During the First Great Shinobi World War, he used the sword of Tengu to devastating effects, defeating countless opponents and destroying many fortresses and bases. He even used it to kill my great-uncle the Naidame Hokage during the war, when he led Kinkaku force, against him. Upon his death, the sword immediately became a sacred treasure of Kumo due to its incredible power, where many Kumo shinobis tried to wield it, but all failed. Soon after, it disappeared and was lost, or at least until now," spoke Tsunade as she stared at the weapon that killed her great-uncle. "But what exactly makes it so special? And why is it that no one could wield it?" asked Sakura. Before Tsunade could answer Sakura's question, Tenten spoke up. "The sword of Tengu is one of the 3 celestial swords said to be the 3 strongest swords in existence," spoke Tenten, surprising everyone that had not known this. "The 3 celestial swords?" asked Udan in confusion, but before he could ask what they were exactly, Tenten continued. "The 3 celestial swords were ancient powerful swords that were said to be created before the founding of ninjutsu and were created by a skilled swordsmith, whose name has long since been lost. According to legend, before the foundation of ninjutsu and before the age of endless war and the Rakuto Sannin, sage of the 6 paths, humans were often easy prey for powerful demons that attacked and harassed humans, who could not harm them with their ordinary weapons. Taking pity on them, the king of the Tengu spirits Sajobo and other good Tengu spirits taught humans how to fight and defend themselves against the demons by using their mystical arts, which were later explained by the Rakuto Sannin and became known as ninjutsu. This is why they're worshipped and revered by shinobi monks today, as they're the first original ninjutsu users, and the original teachers of ninjutsu. But not only did they teach humans the ancient forms of ninjutsu, but they also taught them art of swordsmanship, otherwise known as kenjutsu, where they then also helped humans make powerful weapons to help fight off demons. The most powerful of these weapons were the 3 celestial swords, where the king of the Tengu spirits himself was said to have blessed the 3 sacred swords with incredible power. One of these swords was the sword of Tengu, named after the Tengu spirits themselves, in honor of all the help they gave humans. It is said that when blessed by the Tengu king, He gave the sword the power of the heavens themselves, where it can cause thunderstorms and possesses the power of lightning itself. This gave rise to its other name, the Sword of Heavens. The sword was said to be so powerful that it could destroy entire fortresses with a single swing of its blade, and that it could cut a mountain in two. Although the stories about the sword being able to do those things are said to be just stories, but even still it is agreed that its power far exceeds that of the Raijin no Ken. Also, according to legend, to prevent the swords from being misused by others, the swords were also made into sentient swords, much like Hoshigaki Kisame's Samahata sword, where they're able to choose who they wish to wield them, and who they don't want to wield them. This is why no one other than the Nidaime Raikage was able to wield it, as none that tried were deemed worthy to use the sword by the sword itself. Said Tenten, as she was well versed in the history of powerful known and legendary weapons. Upon hearing Tenten say all this, the elder Konoha shinobis nodded in agreement with Tenten's explanation, as they had heard all the same things. Although the younger members were utterly stunned at the sword's history, while Zhuge Liang and the others were impressed with Tenten's knowledge of the sword, as she knew more than most people in New Kumo. Impressive, you're well versed in the sword's history and abilities. Although you're mistaken about one thing about the sword abilities, the stories about them are true. Spoke Okatsu. Which ones? Asked Tenten. All of them, replied Okatsu simply, whereupon hearing this, the Konoha and Suna group had dumbstruck looks on their faces. Impossible, said Kurenai. There's no way that katana could do all the things it said to do. No katana is that powerful, stated Tsunade in disbelief. What Okatsu says is true, as the legends behind the katana's power are indeed all true, as I've seen its power myself. Spoke Zhuge Liang calmly. But how? The Nidaime Raikage nev dash. Spoke Tsunade, but was interrupted by Zhuge Liang before she could finish. As great as the Nidaime Raikage's power was combined with the sword of Tengu, he was never able to fully master or use the katana to its full extent, as it was too powerful for him to control. Naruto, on the other hand, is able to use Tengu's power to its fullest level. Oh yeah. When this battle gets going, they all gonna get humiliated. Before they get poppin', said Killer Bee in one of his bad rhymes. I agree, these guys won't stand a chance now that Naruto-kun is taking out Tengu, stated Yujito. What do you mean by that? Asked Choji, not getting it. You see, when the Raikage takes out Tengu, he's 10 times more deadly than he ever was before, not just because of the power that Tengu possesses, but when he uses Tengu he doesn't play around with it at all, he becomes deadly serious in a fight, and he works with Tengu, stated Fu. What do you mean work with it? Asked Ino. You forget, Tengu is alive as you or I, and it doesn't just pick a wielder and lets him use it for whatever he wants. The user has to be linked with Tengu and work with it in order to use it full power. That's why the Nidaime Raikage could never use Tengu's full strength. He was unable to fully link and bond with Tengu, unlike Naruto, who has. Hence he doesn't mess around with his opponent, or goes easy on them when he uses it, as Tengu doesn't going easy on its opponents, as it likes to take out its opponents hard and fast. Spoke Yujito. This of course surprised the others, especially the older members, as they did not know that the user must be linked with Tengu in order to use its full strength. Man, Nii-san, you're just too cool, thought Konohamaru with a smile. Sasuke, on the other hand, growled a little and narrowed his eyes, as he wasn't exactly sure whether to believe what he had heard, but it still angered to knowing that Naruto had a powerful katana like that, as he had felt the powerful chakra surge coming from the katana earlier like everyone else, and the power was indeed incredible. And knowing that Naruto had a sword with that kind of power did not sit well with him in the least. Curse you, Naruto, curse you! With Naruto, Orochimaru and the others as Orochimaru and the others gazed at the sword of Tengu with concerned looks on their faces, Shiro suddenly spoke up. There's no way that can be the real sword of Tengu. It has to be some kind of fake he had made to intimidate us and others. Even if it was the real thing, then no way it could be as powerful as people say, as it's just a sword and like any other, and swords can have the kind of power people say that one has. Upon the Mizukage saying this, Tengu started to shake in Naruto's hand and to give out even more lightning than it had been before, where small crippling noises like Kakashi's and Sasuke's Chidori were heard coming from Tengu, where by the sound of it, it didn't seem happy to what Shiro had said. You just made a big mistake, Shiro, said Naruto, which caused the Mizukage to raise his eyebrow, wondering what Naruto meant by that. You just made Tengu angry, and that's something not even I would dare do. TSK. Like I care what some sword thinks of me, scoffed Mizukage. Well then, allow me to show you why you should never get of Tengu's bad side and prove to you that the stories of Tengu's power are indeed true," said Naruto, where he then raised Tengu to up to arm's height and cried out, "Hamareko!" Lightning screamed K, thrusting his katana forward, as if he were stabbing something. Whereas he did, a massive blast of lightning erupted from Tengu and surged forward towards several large empty buildings, all the while letting off the same loud screaming noise it had been letting out before. As soon as it hit, a massive blast and a bright flash of light erupted and forced everyone nearby to cover their eyes. As the light died down, a large cloud of smoke erupted from the area that Naruto's attack hit. When everyone looked, they're shocked to see that the entire area was flattened completely. All that was left was dust and dirt. There weren't even any ruins left, as the attack had leveled an entire village block with the observing group. And to think that was only with a mere fraction of its power, commented Zhuge Liang with a slight smile. Upon hearing this, the Konoha and Suna group looked at Zhuge Liang was insane. "TT, that was only a fraction?" asked a shocked guy, where Zhuge Liang just nodded. "Yes, if Naruto had wanted to, he could have destroyed much more than that vacant block, for as we said, the sword of Tengu has the power to destroy an entire fortress with a single swipe. He could well bring down the entire Hokage monument down on the village with little trouble." Hearing this, of course, made many of the Konoha group gap at the amount of power that Naruto had, although one certain person glared angrily, and with a twig of jealousy at the blonde-haired hero. With Naruto, Orochimaru, and the others. "So gentlemen, tell me which of you will go first?" asked Naruto with a smirk. Orochimaru and the others, of course, did not know what to do, as they were still a bit unnerved at the level of power that Naruto had shown his katana had, and they also knew that was only the tip of the kind of power the katana had, if they went by what the legends said about it. Seeing that none of his opponents were going to make the first move, Naruto decided to make the first move, where within a flash Naruto appeared right in front on Ryoku, and before he could react, or even fully realize where Naruto was, Naruto punched him hard in the gut, making the large make keeled over before Naruto did a full 360 spin, where he swept Ryoku's feet from under him, and then kicked him in the ribcage as he spun back around, sending Ryoku skidding away on the ground several feet away from the others. After which Naruto quickly turned to face the rest of the group, who had just realized where he was. Before Orochimaru could react, let alone avoid, Naruto swung Tengu and cut Orochimaru in two, but just as Orochimaru upper half was falling away from it lower half, dozens of snakes came from the halves and brought him back together. Whereas he was being brought back together, Orochimaru then stabbed at Naruto with Kusanagi, but when he did, Naruto turned into lightning, revealing it to be a Raikage Bunshin, lightning release, shadow clone. When Orochimaru hit the Raikage Bunshin, the lightning from the Bushin reverted into its natural state, where it then traveled up Kusanagi and into Orochimaru's body, electrocuting him. It was after this that the real Naruto appeared in front of Orochimaru, and hit him with a rising kick, sending him flying into the air, after which Naruto then disappeared in a blue flash, and then reappeared behind Shinran. Before Shinran could even respond to this, Naruto then hit him with his futon, Senpuken, wind-style, whirlwind fist, where he punched him in the back, while at the same time releasing a giant, adaptable whirlwind that sent Shinran spiraling away into the open area. As soon as Naruto had dealt with Shinran, he quickly found himself wrapped in Suiton, Suiben, water-style, water whip, with his arms pinned against him and the Mizukage holding the other end, grinning sadistically, at believing he had Naruto and Doku preparing to fire a jutsu at him, after finishing his seals and gather a large amount of his chakra and compressing it in his body, where he then cried out, "Katon, Katora Daibakuha, fire style, fire tiger explosion," and then shot a massive ball of fire in the shape of a tiger's head at Naruto. Seeing the fire tiger attack heading towards him, Naruto just smirked, where he then quickly used Raiten no Yoroi, and wrapped himself in lightning and channeled a large amount of it into the water whip and sent it at Shiro, who was electrocuted by the lightning and forced to let go of the water whip, releasing Naruto. Using the Raiten no Yoroi and enhancing his speed, Naruto then quickly avoided Doku's Katora Daibakuha and reappeared in front of Shiro, and delivered a power spinning kick. That was greatly enhanced thanks to Raiten no Yoroi, where he smashed Shiro's armor and sent him flying into a small house about 100 meters away. Naruto then quickly sped toward Doku, who tried to use a Kawarimi no Jutsu, body replacement technique, to avoid being hit but was too slow to avoid it, and was hit by Naruto, who delivered a powerful punch to his stomach, which was empowered by his Raiten no Yoroi, much like the kick that he had hit Shiro with moments ago. Thanks to the punch, Doka flew through the air and was embedded into the wall of a large building. He tried to move but found he could not as he was embedded too deep into the thick wall, and was in a lot of pain from Naruto's attack, and was certain he had several broken ribs, and Kami knew what else. It was at this point that Doka then heard a large chirping noise like the chirping of hundreds of little birds all together. When he looked up, he saw much to his horror Naruto heading toward him at incredible speed, with his hand covered in lightning. Much to the utter shock of a certain Uchiha and silver-haired Jonin, who were watching the battle with the other observing members, who were just as surprised as they were, Doka tried to pull himself out of the wall, but his body was in too much pain from Naruto's lightning-enhanced punch from earlier, and he was embedded too deep into the wall to pull himself out in time. All he could do was watch in horror as Naruto charged at him, and cried out, "Raikiri, lightning cutter!" where he then plunged his hand into Doka's chest, killing him instantly. With the observing group, "That was," stated Sasuke in surprise at seeing Naruto use Raikiri and killing Doka with it. "Raikiri," finished Kakashi, who was equally surprised as Sasuke at seeing Naruto using the jutsu he created. "But where did Naruto learn to use it?" he muttered out loud. As other than himself, Sasuke was the only other person he ever taught it to. Everyone else in the group that wasn't from New Kumo was just as shocked at seeing Naruto using Kakashi's signature move, and were all wondering the same thing as Kakashi. Hearing Kakashi muttered question, Zhuge Liang decided to answer Kakashi's question. "He learned it through memory," he said simply. "What?" asked Kakashi as he turned around to face Zhuge Liang with a confused expression, or at least what could be made out as one due to his mask cover most of his face. "As I said, he learned it through memory. Your technique is rather simple to learn for someone with the Ranbreaker limit, Stormbreaker limit, as your Chidori, 1000 birds, is basically based on a person focusing a large amount of lightning chakra into one's hand. Your Raikiri is also basically the same, only more concentrated, so it's easy enough for someone like Naruto recreate the jutsu without having to do the hand seals for it. Although I will admit it did take him a while to be able to generate and control the right amount of lightning chakra in his hand without doing himself harm," stated Zhuge Liang. Shocked at hearing, Kakashi one visible eye widened greatly. "BB, but even still, how?" At this Zhuge Liang's eyes narrowed slightly. "One can always clearly remember an attack that was rammed into one's chest twice, by a person they had believed was their friend Kakashi-san," stated Zhuge Liang, where he turned slightly to look at Sasuke, who of course just stared back. Not the least bit intimidated by Zhuge Liang, where after a minute, or he just scoffed, not caring what they thought of him, and continued to watch Naruto in his battle against Orochimaru and his allies. After hearing Zhuge Liang answer, Kakashi could not help but flinch slightly, as he had always felt guilty over that incident, as he had been the one who taught Sasuke the Chidori, thereby in a way he was responsible for Sasuke nearly killing Naruto twice. With Naruto, Orochimaru and the others after killing Doku, Naruto then pulled out his hand out of Doku's body, which then fell to the ground bleeding. When Naruto turned around, he saw Orochimaru and the others had once again regrouped, and were staring at Naruto with angry. As despite the hits they took from Naruto, they were still able to fight. The back plate of Shinran's ANBU-like armor had protected him from much of the damage of Naruto's Senpuken. Although the armor was now destroyed thanks to the attack, as was Shiro's samurai-like armor, when Naruto hit it with his right and no Yoroi enhanced kick, although the armor had still protected him from any major harm. As Naruto stared at his enemies, he started to grin slightly, as if enjoying himself, where he then held up his left hand that had lightning sparking around it, as if signaling Orochimaru and the others to come at him, while holding Tengu, which was also sparking electricity around itself, in his right hand. "So gentlemen, who's next?" spoke the grinning Raikage. "With Mitsuhide and Kabuto." "Takaha Hawkwave Vel!" cried Mitsuhide as he swung his katana in a diagonal slash motion, where he created a powerful vacuum pocket that hit Kabuto, and sent him flying into the air, and was cutting him into pieces. Although, he quickly puffed, revealing him to be a piece of wood, showing that Kabuto had used a Kawarimi no Jutsu to replace himself with just before Mitsuhide's attack hit him. Upon realizing this, Mitsuhide did a backwards flip to avoid a strike from behind by Kabuto with his Chakura no Mezu, chakra scalpel, who had hoped to sever Mitsuhide's spinal cord from behind. As Mitsuhide was in midair, he quickly took out 3 kunai and channeled some of his wind affinity into to enhance their reach and cutting power, where he then threw them at Kabuto back, which was only narrowly able to avoid the high-speed kunai and keep himself from being killed. Although he still had a large cut on his side that bled, along with a gash on his left hip and a small cut on his right cheek. But the wounds quickly healed up, thanks to Kabuto's Inyushometsu, secret healing wound destruction. But as soon as Kabuto's wounds were healed, he suddenly saw Mitsuhide coming at him with his katana at frightening speed. Kabuto quickly used a Shunshin no Jutsu to avoid being hit. Although he wasn't fast enough to avoid Mitsuhide completely, as he was to slash at Kabuto's chest with his blade, just as he shunshined away. Not to be deterred, Mitsuhide quickly used his Takugan, Hawkeye, to track Kabuto, who appeared not far away from him to his left side. After locating his target, Mitsuhide quickly swung his sword again and cried out, "Takaha!" firing another powerful vacuum pocket at Kabuto, who was somehow able to dodge the attack, although his left arm was grazed by it, where he received several large cuts because of the slashing blades of the wind attack. Despite the wounds on his arms, Kabuto was not the least bit worried about it, as he was certain that his Inyushometsu would heal his arm, but he was worried about how much longer he would be able to last, as he knew he didn't have too much chakra left, as he had to use his Inyushometsu technique a lot to heal all the different wounds he suffered from fighting Mitsuhide. Where if things kept going like this, he knew he wouldn't last much longer, as he had yet to really hit Mitsuhide, as every time the man would block, avoid or dodge his attacks, or simply counter them perfectly thanks to his Takugan. After the wounds of his arm healed, Kabuto prepared to active his Chikura no Meza, but when he tried to do hand seals he found he could not move his left arm. "What going on? Why can't I move my arm?" thought Kabuto in confusion and worry. Seeing Kabuto distracted, Mitsuhide decided to take advantage of Kabuto's distraction, where he quickly appeared right in front of Kabuto and slashed once again at Kabuto with his katana, where Kabuto had no chance of dodging and was slashed at the chest. Falling to the ground bleeding badly, Kabuto tried to move, but couldn't, as Mitsuhide stood over him with his katana pointing at his head. Realizing he couldn't escape, Kabuto decided to speak. "And my arm, how did you do to it? Wouldn't you like to know?" replied Mitsuhide, where he smiled at Kabuto's angry and annoyed face. Other than just cutting up and destroy thing or people, Mitsuhide's Takaha had another effect. As if a person such as Kabuto was able to dodge his attack, they could not avoid the tiny residual wind blades that were created by his attack and surround the vacuum pocket he created. These tiny wind blades wouldn't only just cut a person's outer skin, but they could also sever all the nerve channels in a person's body, leaving the target unable to move after being struck, as it was a great deal harder to heal internal damage like that than ordinary cuts. This was why Kabuto's healing technique had not fully healed it yet, as it took time to reconnect all those severed nerve channels even with the best medical ninjutsu, and by the time it. Even though Mitsuhide refused to tell him how he did it, Kabuto guessed that it involved his last technique, where the attack must generate tiny wind blades or something like them, that could do damage internal as well as externally. Although it was only a guess, it made sense, and if it were true it meant Mitsuhide's attack was much more powerful than he thought. He also guessed that Kumo knew about the limits of his Inyushometsu, as it was the only explanation at how Mitsuhide knew what kind of attacks would work against him. Meaning that Kumo had certainly done its homework on him, where he was certain that the Raikage had personally assigned Mitsuhide to take him out given his technique and his bloodline. As Mitsuhide stood over Kabuto, he prepared to give the finishing blow and knock Kabuto out, as his orders were to capture Kabuto if possible, where they could interrogate him for information on all of Orochimaru activities, or kill him if necessary. But before Mitsuhide could knock Kabuto out, a sudden massive roar was heard, where when Mitsuhide and Kabuto turned to look they saw the last of Orochimaru's Curse Seal warriors that had somehow survived to this point and was charging at them, intending to kill them both, not caring that Kabuto was on his side. The creature quickly sped towards them with incredible speed, which was surprising given its large bulky size. Mitsuhide, who had been so distracted by preparing to finish off Kabuto, he had not noticed the creature until it roared out and was just about on top of him and Kabuto. Quickly both Mitsuhide and Kabuto jumped away and narrowly avoided being killed by the creature. After jumping away and creating some distance between him and the creature, Mitsuhide quickly sheathed his sword and fell into a Batajutsu stance and prepared himself for the creature's attacks. When the Curse Seal warrior saw that it had missed its prey, it quickly started to look around for it, where it soon found Mitsuhide, who was falling into his Batajutsu stance. Upon seeing Mitsuhide, the creature let out another huge roar and charged at Mitsuhide at full speed on all fours. As the Curse Seal warrior charged at him, Mitsuhide did not move and waited for the right moment to attack. As the Curse Seal warrior came closer and closer, Mitsuhide waited for the moment to come. Just when the cursed warrior was nearing Mitsuhide and was about to pounce on him, Mitsuhide saw his moment, and drew his sword out with lightning-fast speed and cried out, "Takezen, Hawk's Slash!" Whereupon, drawing his katana at such incredible high speed, a crescent-shaped blade of air erupted from his blade, and hit the cursed seal warrior. At first the attack seemed to do nothing, and the cursed seal warrior was about to stab Mitsuhide with its claw, but just when it was a hair's breadth away from stabbing Mitsuhide in the face with its claw, the creature suddenly stopped, where a second later it fell to the ground with its body cut in two, where its upper half was severed from its lower half. The cut was so clean that there was no blood splatter whatsoever. Not even a trace of blood could be seen on Mitsuhide's white clothing. When Mitsuhide resheathed his katana, he looked around for Kabuto, but as he had guessed, Kabuto was gone, as he had no doubt used the cursed seal warrior's attack to escape. Mitsuhide had tried looking for him using his Takugan to try and track Kabuto. Unfortunately, there was too much smoke and fighting going on between the two sides and too many people around to find Kabuto, who had no doubt shunshined away and was now long gone. After deactivating his Takugan, a frown appeared on Mitsuhide's face, as he had failed in his mission to capture or kill Kabuto, and he disliked failing a mission about as much as he liked missing his targets. Soon after, Mitsuhide was then joined by his partner Sayuri. "Hey Mitsuhide, are you okay? You don't look happy. Where Kabuto?" spoke Sayuri to her childhood friend. "He escaped, I'm afraid," replied Mitsuhide simply. This of course surprised Sayuri, as Mitsuhide rarely failed in a mission. "The guy must have been pretty good to escape you. Indeed, he was even able to make me miss of several occasions by avoiding my attacks and just receiving simple cuts," said Mitsuhide, surprising Sayuri, as Mitsuhide rarely missed his intended targets. "Although still, he would not have gotten away had this creature not appeared," finished Mitsuhide as he pointed at the cut corpse of the cursed seal warrior. Sayuri only nodded in understanding, and before she could say anything there was a sudden massive explosion from where Naruto was fighting Orochimaru and the others. "Looks like things are starting to heat up a bit, as Naruto is using Tengu," stated Sayuri as she looked to where the explosion came from and could tell that Naruto was using Tengu by using her sensory skills to sense Tengu lightning chakra. "Indeed, I believe we should go and see how well our former student is faring," replied Mitsuhide, where Sayuri nodded in agreement, and they both left together. With Naruto, Orochimaru, and the others jumping away, avoiding another powerful lightning attack from Naruto, Orochimaru landed and skidded on the flat ground of the leveled area that they were battling on. As he did, he narrowed his eyes at the smirking figure of one Uzumaki Naruto, aka the Rokudaime Raikage. He was then joined by Ryoku, Shinran, and Shiro, who all had several cuts, burns, and bruises on different parts of their arms. For the past several minutes, all four of them had attacked Naruto either in pairs or all together, but each time Naruto had forced them back, without any of them making any real damage to him, other than a few cuts and scorch marks on his long blue coat and black pants. Quickly Orochimaru stretched out his hand in a punching motion and cried out, "Senai Tajashu, many hidden shadow snake hands," where a large amount of snakes appeared out of his sleeves, where he launched them at Naruto. Seeing them, Naruto quickly did a few one-handed hand seals and cried out, "Raiton Suzukiri, lightning style, cutting sparrow." 5. Where he created several sparrows made out of lightning and fired them at the approaching snakes. The lightning sparrows quickly cut through the snakes and flew straight at Orochimaru, who quickly used his Hirubansho, Boku no Jutsu, Leech All Creation, attack prevention technique, to sink into the ground to avoid Naruto's attack. Unfortunately for Naruto, Orochimaru's attack was just a diversion, where as soon as he launched his Senai Tajashu, he and the others disappeared and reappeared around Naruto and fired their own individual ninjutsus at Naruto, who quickly brought back his lightning sparrows and had them block the attacks, while at the same time jumping up into the air. As soon as he did, Orochimaru reappeared above him in midair and tried to stab with his Kusanagi, but Naruto easily blocked his attack with his Tengu, where the katana then started to discharge lightning and channeled it into Orochimaru's sword, where it then traveled into Orochimaru's body, electrocuting him. Taking advantage of Orochimaru being electrocuted by Tengu, Naruto quickly kicked Orochimaru in the side with a lightning-enhanced kick, and sent Orochimaru flying into the ground below. Upon landing, Ryoku suddenly appeared in front of Naruto, where he then slammed his hand into the ground and cried out, "Doton Retsudo Tensho, Earth Style, tearing earth turning palm," after which the ground surrounding Naruto began to spiral inwards on itself. Naruto quickly jumped up into the air again to avoid being buried alive or crushed by the jutsu. But when he did, he suddenly heard Shiro shout out, "Suiton, Suishu Goragon, water style, powerful blasting rain trench, where he created a body of water out of thin air and took the form of a dragon with a gaping mouth and launched it at Naruto. Naruto shunched to the ground and attempted to avoid the attack, but Shiro was able to control the dragon and had it turn and attack Naruto again. Naruto tried to avoid the attack few more times, but seeing that the attack kept following him, he decided to deal with it. He then did 3 quick one-handed hand seal and cried out, Hayatan Hariyamoko, Ice Release, Tearing Dragon Fierce Tiger, where he then created a giant ice tiger and ice dragon, where they then clashed with the oncoming water dragon, and quickly turned the water dragon into solid ice statue, which Naruto quickly destroyed with a lightning blast from Tengu. Hayatan, thought the Mizukage in surprise, before he frowned in anger. So the legends are true after all, cursed that bloodline freak. After dealing with the Mizukage's attack, Naruto then came under attack by a large creature made out of rock. The creature of course caught Naruto by surprise at first, but he quickly regained himself upon realizing it was a rock golem, which the Sasuke had created. As soon as Naruto had jumped away to avoid being hit by the golem's large fist, he suddenly looked up after hearing Ryoka's voice shouting out from above him. Die you hell spawn! Yoganwari, rock crush! And quickly Naruto used a Kawarimi to replace himself with a boulder to avoid Ryoka's attack, where as soon as his fist hit the ground around him was utterly pulverized, where large and small pieces of rocks were scattered around him, along with a large dust cloud. As Ryoka pulled his fist out of the ground, he suddenly heard Naruto cry out, Rantan, Rises Sakasu, Storm Release, Encouraging Crushing Chain Tormenting Principle. After which several bright beams of electricity appeared from Naruto's one free hand, and headed towards Ryoku. Rantan, but how? Thought the Sasuke, whereupon seeing the technique coming from Naruto's now revealed location in the dust cloud. Ryoku quickly tried to avoid the beams of electricity, but Naruto was able to alter the beam's direction to follow him. As Ryoku continued to dodge the beams, he saw from the corner of his eye his golem being obliterated by a few of Naruto's beams. Not wanting to end up like his golem, Ryoku quickly used his Doton, Mogirigaku no Jutsu, Earth style, hiding like a mole technique, and sank into the ground, to avoid the beam, which hit the ground and exploded. Ryoka then quickly popped from the ground underneath Naruto and delivered a power right uppercut to Naruto, sending him flying backwards. But as soon as did, Naruto puffed into smoke, revealing him to be a Kage Bunshin. Upon realizing this, Ryoka saw Naruto then appeared from the smoke of the Kage Bunshin, as he used it as a smoke screen, with his free left fist surrounded in lightning, and shouted, Eat this! Raiken, Thunder Fist! Oh! Thereby sending Ryoka flying backwards into a ruined wall over 50 meters away from where he was and then through the wall itself. When Ryoka tried to move, he found that he couldn't. Damn it, my body's gone numb, from lightning technique he used. As soon as he had dealt with Ryoku, Shiro appeared to Naruto's left side and tried to stab him with his Mizu no Ken, but as he did, Naruto quickly spun around, slashed at the Godame Mizukage with Tengu. Shiro was able to duck underneath the slash, but wasn't able to avoid Naruto's other attack, where he did a quick high-speed palm thrust with his other free hand, which was covered in wind chakra, and hit Shiro in the stomach while crying out, Futon Fusho, Wind Style, Wine Palm! P! And blasted Shiro away. After pushing Shiro back, Shinran then appeared to Naruto's right side, with a new katana he had summoned and had channeled his lightning chakra into, and prepared to slash Naruto head off. Seeing the attack coming at the corner of his eye, Naruto quickly spun around and blocked Shinran's katana with Tengu, after which Naruto pushed Shinran back, causing the man to stumble back as he lost his balance, thereby giving Naruto an opening, which he took and slashed at Shinran, but when he did, Shinran turned into lightning, revealing him to be a right Kage Bunshin, which Tengu then absorbed so to protect Naruto from the lightning, when it reverted back into its original state. Upon seeing this, a Tanto blade suddenly appeared out of Naruto's chest, revealing that the real Shinran had used the right Kage Bunshin as a distraction to keep Naruto busy, while he waited for an opening to strike Naruto from behind. Got you now, you bastard! Said Shinran with a grin, which quickly faded when he saw Naruto smirk, before he blew up, revealing him to be a Bunshin Daibakuha, clone Great Explosion. Fortunately though, Shinran was able to avoid the blast by jumping up into the air the very last moment. Damn that bastard, where did he go? Said an angry and slightly singed Shinran in midair, before he heard someone cry out, Looking for me! When Shinran looked up, he saw Naruto falling down towards him from the air with Tengu held over his head. Shinran was so surprised by Naruto's sudden appearance above him that he was unable to move out of the way in time, when Naruto then did a vertical slash, cutting Shinran in half, from his head down to between his legs, after which in an impressive feat of swordsmanship Naruto then cut Shinran's body into several different pieces. After which he then brought the palm of his hand out forward and fired a powerful lightning jutsu, and completely vaporized the cut-up body pieces. With the observing group, "Damn! There goes another 1 inch," stated Jiraiya. "Go Nai-san!" cheered Konohamaru. "Naruto-kun, you're amazing," said Hinata's. "He's incredible," stated Ino, at how easily Naruto handled all the anti-Konoha coalition leaders' attacks and beat them back. "Yeah," replied Kiba. "But how did Naruto do those Hayatan and Rantan techniques?" asked Sakura in confusion. "You forget, Sakura-san, the Ramberka limit is the progenitor of those 2 limits, hence he can do the techniques of those bloodlines, as they did originate from his bloodline. Meaning the same genetic trait that allows Hayatan users to combine their water and wind affinities to create ice jutsu, and the trait that allows Rantan users to combine their water and lightning affinities to create storm jutsu, is also within Naruto," spoke Mitsuhide, who had joined the group along with Sayuri, when Naruto was battling Orochimaru and his allies. "So basically Naruto has 4 bloodlines in him, as he has enhanced healing powers, the ability to manipulate the weather and can use Rantan and Hayatan jutsu," said Choji in slight awe. "One could look at like that, but it would be more correct to say that the ability to use Hayatan and Rantan jutsus is simply an extension or a part of his Ramberka bloodline," stated Sayuri. The Konoha and Suna group all nodded their heads in understanding, but still many still could not help but be in slight awe at how powerful Naruto's bloodline really was. Tsunade herself knew all this along with Jiraiya, as she had heard about the Ramberka ability to use more than one sub-elemental, but was unsure if it was true or not. But after seeing it, it put any doubt she had away. "I knew the Ramberka was powerful, but still to be able to use Rantan and Hayatan, it's nothing short of incredible. Not to mention frightening, as power like this changes a person, leaving the question, how much have you changed, Naruto, and has it been for the better or the worse?" thought Tsunade. As she and the others now watched Naruto face off against the 3 strongest leaders of the anti-Kono coalition, Orochimaru, the Godame Nizukage Shiro, and the Yandame Tsuchikage Ryoka. With Naruto, Orochimaru, and the others after defeating and killing Shinran, Naruto smirked at the now 3 remaining members of the anti-Konoha coalition, who did not look the least bit pleased at seeing another member of their group being killed by Naruto. "Well, now that's 2 down and 3 to go," said Naruto with a smirk. "But I don't think I need to use Tengu to handle you 3, continued Naruto, where he then sheathed Tengu back onto his back. At hearing this, Ryoka grew furious. "You dare underestimate us, you arrogant little whelp! I have your head for that insult." "Ryoka, calm down and control yourself, you fool! Don't you see that the boy is trying to goad you into attacking him?" rounded Shiro. "I don't care, it's time this brat pays for his parents' crimes against my village," spoke Ryoka angrily, as he was beyond furious right now. At seeing that cocky-like smirk on his face, that was the exact image of his father, the Yandame Hokage, where it was like the Yandame was laughing at him from beyond the grave. To Ryoku, Naruto's very existence was an insult to him and his village, as he couldn't stand the fact that the Yandame line still lived on in his son, and how he was humiliating him in battle just as his father did during the Third Great Shinobi World War. What more, Naruto was also the son of Uzumaki Kushina, aka Konoha no Shinkuikari, who was responsible for defeating many of his best men. Not to mention she had used her unique special form of chakra to subdue and defeat the Jinchurikis of the Gobi no Irakoma, 5-tailed dolphin horse, and the Yambi no Saru, 4-tailed monkey, in separate battles during the war. These losses, along with the defeats that her now revealed husband the Yodame Hokage dealt, were the main attributors to Iwa being defeated by Konoha. Hence to Ryoku, this made Naruto the very manifestation of both his and Iwa's defeats and humiliation at the hands of the Konoha no Kiroi Senko and Konoha no Shinkuikari, as he was the byproduct of both of them, which was why he refused to allow Naruto to live a moment longer. Ryoku then did 3 quick hand seals and slammed both his hands onto the ground and cried out, "Doton, Dehosen, Earth Style, Earth Avalanche! Q!" Upon which a giant wave of earth erupted from the ground and headed toward Naruto. "Die Yandame spawn! And join Whore of Mother in Hell! Along with your father!" roared Ryoku, and he rode the giant earth wave, as it headed towards Naruto and came crashing down onto him. But as soon as the attack came down on Naruto and buried him under a few hundred tons of earth, there was sudden massive explosion that blasted the large mound of earth away along with Ryoku, who landed and skidded not far from where Orochimaru and Shiro were. When the dust cleared from the explosion, they saw Naruto surrounded by a large field of lightning, as he used his pure Zumaburu, plasma ball, to create a lightning-based defense barrier around him which acted as a shield around him, which protected Naruto from Ryoku attacks. Although when they got a better look of Naruto they also saw that he did not look pleased, or to be more precise he looked furious judging by the look on his face, and at how his eyes were glowing bright blue again like earlier with lightning coming out from them, although this time much more furiously than before. "You made a grave mistake, Ryoku, one that you will regret for the rest of your life. All 5 minutes of it, as you can insult that bastard Namikaze and me all you want. But I will not stand by and let you or anyone insult my mother, and for that, you will die," cried Naruto as he let loose a large burst of killing intent and chakra that created a large burst of wind around him. With the observing group, when Yujito saw Naruto like this she could not help but smirk and shake her head knowing what was going to happen next. "Ryoku is a dead man now, as he gone and done it," stated Yujito. "No kindin, motherfucker in the shitta house, he don't even known it," said Killer B. "I guessing that insulting Naruto's mom in front of him is not something someone who values living should do?" said Shikamaru. "No it isn't, unless of course you have a death wish, as it an unspoken law in New Kumo, where no one is to ever insult Naruto-kun's mother, because if you do you end up like the last guy who did," replied Yujito. "And who was that?" asked Choji. "Haiden of the Akatsuki," replied Yujito with a frown as she remembered one of the men that nearly killed her a few years back. When Shikamaru, Ino, Choji, Kurenai and Konohamaru heard this they all narrowed their eyes angrily at the man that had killed the Suma. "And what exactly did Naruto do to him?" asked Shikamaru, where a small part of him was hoping that the man suffered after killing his sensei. "I won't go into details, but to put it simply Naruto vaporized the bastard and destroyed an entire valley and everything else in a 1-mile radius," answered Yujito, as she had been there to see the battle. "Damn," stated Kiba, while making a mental note never to say anything bad about Naruto's mother in front of him and to never piss him off. Shikamaru just nodded, satisfied with what happened, and even planned to thank Naruto later for killing Haiden. "And I'm guessing the reason that Naruto hates his father so much is because he was the one to turn Naruto in a Jinchuriki, and he blames him for his harsh life in the village," spoke Jiraiya with a slight frown, where Yujito just nodded confirming it. Gaara of course nodded in understanding to Naruto, in his dislike of his father, as he too hated his father for what he did to him, and how he tired to have him killed on several occasions, not to mention the fact that he blamed his father for his mother's death, as he had ordered Chio to seal Shikakuing to Gaara, when he was still in his mother's womb and did so against her wishes. Where when she gave birth him, her life energy was used to power the sealing process, where she died after giving birth to him. Although Gaara had forgiven Chio for her part in it, as his father had ordered her to do it, where if she had refused so Monion else would have done it. Which was why Gaara could never forgive his father, for not only for his harsh life and attempts to kill him, but for also being the main reason why his mother died. With Naruto, Orochimaru and the others not wasting any more time, Naruto launched a powerful lightning attack at the trio of Kages, causing them to scatter. Naruto then used his Reipo, lightning step, to disappear and reappear next to Ryoku where his hand was once again covered in lightning and he cried out, "Raikiri!" and slammed his hand into Ryoku's face. But upon doing this, Ryoku dissolved into mud revealing him to be Tsuchi Bunshin, Earth Clone. When Naruto realized this, he saw Ryoku a distance away from him, and doing some hand seals and cry out, "Doton Doryotabe, Earth Style, Devouring Earth!" Where the ground from underneath Naruto lifted up forming enormous jaws, where they tried to swallow and crush the Naruto between them. Reacting quickly Naruto brought up both his arms and did a circular motion with them, where lightning started to emanate from his 2 front fingers tip on both his hands, and then pointed them both at the 2 closing earth jaws on either side of him. Upon which he then shouted out, "Niju Byakurai, double white lightning!" R. Where 2 powerful bolts of white lighting erupted from Naruto's 2 front fingertips and destroyed the closing earth jaws. After destroying the earth jaws and landing back on the ground, Naruto then did another circular motion with his arms, where he then cried out, "Byakurai, white lightning!" and fired a single bolt of white lightning at Ryoku. who quickly used a Dorihiki, earth-style wall, to create a large wall of earth to protect himself from Naruto's attack. Unfortunately, Naruto's Byakurai was too powerful, where it destroyed the earth wall completely and blasted Ryoku into a ruined building. After blasting Ryoku away, Orochimaru then appeared behind Naruto with Kusanagi in his hand, as he had used his slithering snake mode to sneak up on Naruto at high speed, before he could sense him, where he then stabbed Naruto in the heart from the back with Kusanagi. But a few seconds later, Naruto faded away, revealing he was an afterimage. As soon as Orochimaru realized this, he saw Naruto appear out of the corner of his left eye, where the then used his fusho and slammed the compressed wind in the palm of his hands into Orochimaru's left side, violently pushing Orochimaru away. After being pushed about 60 feet away from Naruto, Orochimaru regained himself by landing on the ground on all fours, where he then used his Mandara no Jin, myriad snake net formation, to release a torrent of countless snakes from his mouth. That formed a gigantic wall of snakes that rose up and rushed towards Naruto. As the snakes got closer to Naruto, they then opened their mouths to extend Kusanagi like blades. As the wall of swords and snakes came closer to him, Naruto did 3 quick hand seals and brought his 2 front fingers to his lips and cried out, "Hayatan Ryukiko, Ice Release, Icy Breath S." After which Naruto blew out a large stream of freezing wind from his mouth, freezing the gigantic wall of snakes and turning it into a solid wall of ice. Once the wall of snakes had been frozen, Naruto then did a few more hand seals and cried out, "Futon, Atsugai, Wind Style, Pressure Damage," where he compressed in tornado-like mass between his hands and held it until its density had reached its highest point, where he then released into a massive sweeping blast of wind. That completely shattered the frozen snake wall into pieces and swept Orochimaru off his feet and to the other end of the clear flat area. With Orochimaru dealt with for the moment, Naruto quickly started to search for where Shiro was. Naruto did not have to search long, as Shiro slammed his fist into the ground and a massive gush of water, whereas he did he cried out, "Suetun, Baku Sui Shoha, Water Style, Exploding Water Colliding Wave." He then quickly jumped onto the advancing surge of water and rode on it, while at the same time he created another Mizuno Ken, whereas the giant surge of water headed for Naruto, he cried out, "Time for you to die, you bloodline freak!" Naruto of course did not look the least bit worried, where he then quickly took out his wind blade handle and channeled his wind chakra into it to create the blade of wind, after which as the water surge was about to crash on top of him, Naruto spoke in a calm clear voice and simply said, "Daikaretsuzen, Great Earth Cutting Slash. T," after which he swung his vertical upward slash, cutting the water attack in 2 and causing it to fall apart and collapsed on itself. "Impossible, he broke my Bakusui Shoha with just a slash on his sword," thought Shiro as he held his now badly bleeding arm, which had been cut by Naruto's attack, which he narrowly avoided by sheer luck. After which he quickly shunshin away to a safe spot to dress his wounded arm. As he did, the water he created began to flow into the crater that Naruto had created earlier from powering up and began to fill it up. As the water flowed into the crater, it revealed the large slash mark that Naruto's Daikaretsuzen created, which stretched up to 100 meters in length, and had severed many buildings and houses outside the cleared area in half. With the observing group, "Incredible! He was able to completely sever that giant wave of water with that single slash, and yet still do all that damage at the same time," stated amazed Temari, as it was obvious to her that Naruto's wind ninjutsu skill was on a whole other level from hers. "If we win this fight and he survives it, maybe I can ask him to give me a few tips and pointers," thought Temari at the same time. "At the rate things are going right now, if Naruto wins this battle there won't be much a village left," commented Kakashi, as he saw the destruction Naruto's last attack had done. "Better the village be destroyed than its people, as buildings and homes can always be rebuilt, but lives cannot. And as long as your village's people and shinobis continuing living, then your village will still have a future and can be rebuilt," commented Zhuge Liang, where both Jiraiya and Tsunade nodded in agreement at Zhuge Liang's wise words. But upon Zhuge Liang saying this, a loud voice was suddenly heard shout out, "Kuchios and Ojutsu, Summoning Technique!" where a massive puff of smoke appeared from the ruined building Ryoku was sent flying to by Naruto not long ago. Once the smoke cleared, the group saw Ryoku standing on the head of a giant bear summons, with a decorated spiked sling around its chest, a large hammer in its right paw and a short shield on its left arm, along with armbands and a belt with the animal skull buckle at the front of it. 6. With Naruto and Ryoku. TSK, IWA really does have the most stubborn hardhead shinobis in the world. commented Naruto, as he saw Ryoku and his giant bear summons appear and let out a ferocious roar. Insert bleach. Invasion. As the bear summons came closer to him, Naruto did not move in the slightest and allowed the creature to come up to him as close as possible. When the giant bear summons was right in front of him, he could hear Ryoku speaking to his summons. Onokuma, there is the one. He is the reason why I have summoned you. I need your strength to help me defeat him. He is the reason? Roared out the bear boss named Onokuma. You have become weak since you've last summoned me, Ryoku, if you can't defeat a worthless worm like that, spoke Onokuma, as he looked down at Naruto. Don't underestimate that boy, Onokuma. He is more powerful than he looks, as he is the offspring of Konoha no Shinku Akari and Konoha no Kiroi Senko, warned Ryoku. Even so, he will die like the worthless worm he is, roared Onokuma, where he rose his left front paw and thrust it down on Naruto, intending to crushing him beneath his paw like a bug. Seeing the paw come at him, Naruto didn't bother to even try and avoid it. Instead, he quickly brought both his hands up and blocked Onokuma's paw, where as soon as he did, he was forced back a bit by the Onokuma's paw, where he tore up the ground a bit as he was pushed back by Onokuma's paw. But after being pushed back a few feet, Naruto was able to then hold his ground and halt Onokuma's paw. After which Naruto then smirked. Now it's my turn. After which he then grabbed a tight hold of Onokuma's paw, and then charged up his right no Yoro once again, but this time it was much larger and much stronger than before. With the observing group. He isn't going to do what I think he's going to do, asked Jiraiya openly as he watched Naruto power up a much larger form of his right no Yoroi. He is, answered Tsunade with surprise. He can't. Even with the right no Yoroi enhancing his strength, there's no way it could make him strong enough to throw it, stated Kakashi in disbelief. You think you people would have learned by now. When it comes to the Raikage, very little is impossible for him, spoke Fu with a smirk. Upon Fu saying this, Naruto's chakra suddenly skyrocketed, where a giant thick layer of lightning chakra surrounded Naruto, where he then let out a large roar as he then flipped the giant bear summons into the air and over him and threw him to the other end of the cleared area, 50 meters from where Naruto was. When Naruto did this, Ryoku fell off Onokuma's head, while Onokuma himself fell down and crushed a large number of empty buildings and houses that he had landed on, after which Naruto then deactivated his right no Yoroi. After Naruto had thrown Onokuma to the other end of the cleared area, jaws literally dropped from all those watching the battle, which included not only the observing group, but also many shinobis from Suna, Konoha, the Tsuchigumo clan and New Kumo, who had been nearby the area and decided to watch the battle. Many of the Konoha shinobis could not believe what they had seen, as the Raikage had shown a level of strength and power that they thought only their Hokage or Sakura were capable of. TTTH, that was unreal. He actually threw that massive summons by himself, stated one Konoha nin. He's incredible, said a Suna nin. That our Raikage, spoke a new Kumo nin with pride. With Naruto not long after throwing Onokuma, the large bear boss got back on his feet and roared out in fury and glared at the smirking Naruto, who now appeared below him. You worm, you insignificant little worm, how dare you! How dare you! Do you not know who I am? I am Onokuma, leader of the bear clan, and I will not be defeated by the likes of you, roared the enraged bear summons. Naruto did not reply to this and drew Tengu out once again from his back. Do you honestly think that little needle that you call a katana can hurt me? Said Onokuma. Then come at me and find out for yourself, said Naruto seriously as he prepared himself, while Tengu blade was surrounded by lightning and screeching out a little, indicting that it was angry at Onokuma. Call it a little needle. Die, you worm! Cried Onokuma, as he raised his hammer up into the air and slammed it down onto of Naruto. Quickly Naruto raised Tengu above his head and used it to block Onokuma's hammer, while at the same time wrapping himself in a thick layer of chakra and hardening it to protect his body from being crushed of the force of Onokuma's attack. Although when he blocked Onokuma's attack, a large shock erupted from Naruto, and a large crater was formed in the ground around him, all from the force of Bear Boss's attack. But even still Naruto held his ground and withstood Onokuma's attack along with Tengu, without any harm to either of them. After withstanding Onokuma's attack, Naruto decided it was time to go on the offensive, where he cried out once again. Cry out into the soaring heavens, Tengu! After which Tengu started to release a massive burst of lightning chakra and energy, while once again letting out yet another loud screeching cry. At the same time Naruto also let out another large burst of lightning chakra, where he then combined it with Tengu's, where together their two massive bursts of lightning chakras created a giant pillar of lightning chakra that shot up into the sky and shattered Onakuma's metal hammer and blasted him back a bit from Naruto. Impossible! How can such incredible power come from a mere human? Thought Onakuma in disbelief at his hammer being destroyed, and as he blocked the force of the shockwave from Naruto's and Tengu's lightning chakra release with his arm shield, but was still being pushed back a bit by it. Now then, Onakuma, you are about to pay the price for insulting Tengu and see firsthand its true power, stated Naruto, as he then pressed his two front fingers on the flat side of Tengu's blade and ran it along. As he did, the blade began to shine bright white, which was almost blinding. Naruto then held Tengu over his head in a Joden stance. Whereas he was in the stance, the lightning chakra that was released together by Naruto and Tengu started to recede. It then formed around Naruto in the shape of a giant bird spreading out with its wings and crying out with its ear-splitting screech once again. After a second or two, the large screeching cry from Tengu ended, when Naruto then swung his sword in a diagonal slash and roared out, "Futsunushi, Japanese deity of swords and lightning!" When he let loose his attack, a massive blade of lightning chakra erupted from Tengu's blade and traveled at astonishing speed. As the blade of lightning chakra headed towards Onakuma, the attack took on the form of a soaring bird and flew straight at Onakuma, while letting loose once again another fierce cry. Seeing the attack coming at him, Onakuma quickly brought his arm shield up to protect him from the attack, while at the same time trying to avoid, but the attack was coming in too quickly for him to fully avoid. The attack hit his shield and broke through it, completely shattering it into pieces, where it continued on and made a deep diagonal slash on Onakuma's chest, although he was still able to move out of the way, just enough to avoid being cut in half. The attack then continued on right past Onakuma, and made a deep, long, large slashing mark deep into the ground, as it continued on like with Naruto's Daikuretsuzen, but unlike that attack it did not dissipate it after going a certain length. Instead it kept going and cut right through the Konoha western wall, and cut right through it as well as cut through a great deal of the forestry outside the village, where it then made a diagonal cut on the western side of the Hokage monument, which was outside the village wall, and went right through it to the other end before it dissipated. After which the part of the Hokage monument that had been cut diagonally slid down onto the forestry below, where it inadvertently cut off the escape route of the now retreating Kusa and Hanya clan forces, who upon finding their escape route cut off, surrendered so to avoid being killed by the new Kumo forces and the Konoha defenders who had been perusing them and were surrounding them. "Grahhhh!" roared Onakuma in pain, as he held his bleeding chest, and was beginning to stagger due to his wound on his chest. "What is he?" thought Onakuma as he staggered in pain. "He's no ordinary human!" With the observing group and watching shinobis. "Did you see that?" declared Konohamaru in shock and awe. "How the hell couldn't we?" cried the astonished Kiba, whose jaw hit the floor. "What was that technique?" asked Niji openly to the new Kumo shinobis. "It is called Futsunushi, Tengu's most powerful attack," replied Yujito. "When using this technique, Tengu can cut an entire mountain in two with a single slash. It's virtually impossible to defend or counteract against." "So the legends are true," said Tenten in amazement, where a part of her was literally drooling over the sword, where she could not help but slightly envy Naruto's good fortune at finding one of the strongest weapons in the world, and wondered as well if Naruto would let her look of and even hold it later on. With Naruto, as Onakuma was struggling to keep himself standing, he looked down on Naruto, where when he did, he saw that Naruto now held a massive giant version of the Rasengan, spiraling sphere, in his left hand, while still holding Tengu in his right hand. But what frightened Onakuma most was the dangerous look in Naruto's eyes, as they began to glow bright blue with lightning coming out of them, and for an instant he swore he saw a flash of red, where they didn't look human in that instant, as they had narrowed and turned blood red, almost like a demon's, but as quickly as he saw them, they turned back to blue and emanating lightning again. "What? What the hell are you?" cried Onakuma with fear clear in his voice, as he took a step back in fear of Naruto. "That right, I still haven't fully introduced myself to you," spoke Naruto as he looked at Onakuma. "I am the Raikage Uzumaki Naruto, better known as the Raiden no Kami, god of thunder and lightning, and sadly for you, your end," said Naruto as he finished with a deadly tone. He quickly disappeared in a blue flash and reappeared in midair right in front of Onakuma holding the giant ball of Rasengan. "No! Stay back!" cried Onakuma with fear as he tried to return back from whence he was summoned from, But it was too late as Naruto slammed the giant Rasengan and right into his already wounded chest and shouted out, "Psycho Rasengan! Supreme Spiraling Ball!" 5. After it hit, Onokuma was pushed back by the force of the attack, destroying many buildings in the process, after which there was a massive explosion that enveloped Onokuma and blasted Naruto back, who quickly did a mid-flip in the air, so that he would land on his feet when he hit the ground, where he then skidded a bit and watched as the explosion enveloped Onokuma and destroyed several buildings around him. Before it faded and revealed Onokuma's badly damaged chest and burned-up body from the attack, where his body fell to the ground crushing several buildings as he did, after which his body puffed back to where he came from as he had been dead before he even hit the ground. And Bleach, invasion with the observing group and other shinobis. "Unbelievable, Naruto beat him," said Choji with amazement. "And he did it without summon anything to fight it for him," stated Hanabi, clearly impressed with Naruto's power. "Incredible," stated Kurenai. "I knew you could do it, Naruto-kun," thought Hinata with a smile. "Go, and Aizen, you're stoppable," cheered Konohamaru. "But what was that technique? It looked like my Cho Odama Rasengan, super great spiraling sphere, but yet he called it differently," asked Jiraiya as he was confused at the fact Naruto was able due to that technique, without any natural energy. Because it is different, or at least slightly different from your technique, Jiraiya-san," stated Juga Liang. "As unlike your technique, Naruto does not add natural energy. The Psycho Rasengan is made entirely of his own chakra." This of course surprised many, but they quickly got over it as it made sense, and although in most cases they would have said it was impossible for anyone to have that much chakra in them, let alone be able to control it and form it into a Rasengan of that size. But after witnessing Naruto powering up earlier on, along with what else Naruto had shown in the battle so far, there was very little that they believed was impossible for Naruto to do. As the observing group were discussing this, the other shinobis watching the battle could not help but be in awe at Naruto defeating Onokuma the way he did. But as they did, they then finally got a better look at the Raikage's face, as he turned around looking for something. When they did, the Konoha and Suna shinobis were shocked beyond works when they saw Naruto's face. "The Yondaime Hokage!" gasped a Konoha Jonin. "Kiroi Senko!" said a Suna Chunin in surprise. "Impossible, the Yondaime is dead!" said a Konoha Chunin as he could not believe that the Yondaime Hokage was alive. "But look, he right there in front of us, how do you explain it, and it isn't a henge as we would sense it?" said Tokubetsu Jonin. "I don't know, but there has to be an explanation, as I was there at the Yondaime's funeral," said the Jonin. "You're correct, he isn't your Yondaime Hokage," answered a new Kumo Chunin. "Then who the hell is he, and why does he look like the Yondaime Hokage?" asked the Konoha Chunin. "He's the Yondaime Hokage's son, Uzumaki Naruto, formerly of your village, and now our Rokudaime Raikage," spoke a new Kumo Jonin. "The demon brat? That's impossible, there's no way he's the Yondaime's son, besides that brat been dead for over 9 years now. I refuse to believe that's him, and that H-, spoke the Konoha Jonin as he had lost his brother in the Kyuubi attack and had held a long grudge against Naruto for it. But before he could finish he suddenly stopped, as he was suddenly pushed down onto his knees, where he then felt that blade point at his throat. When he looked down he saw a gold and black gauntlet around his neck with a golden pointed blade tip at his throat where it was already making his neck bleed slightly. When the Jonin looked back at the corner of his eye, he saw that the arm and gauntlet belonged to Soifin, who now had one foot on of his left leg, so to keep him on his knees. Before any of the other Suna or Konoha nins could do anything, they suddenly found themselves surrounded by shock nins both around them and above them on several building rooftops. Also as well the new Kumo shinobis that had been among them, had now drawn their individual weapons and aimed them at the Konoha and Suna shinobis, preventing them from doing anything, and all of them had serious looks on their faces. Hey guys, there's no need for this, we're all friends here, are alright?" said a worried Konoha Jonin as a new Kumo Shokunin pointed his lightning-charged katana right at his neck. "We are not your friends, Konoha scum, as we're only fighting with you because your enemies have become ours at this moment. We're all well aware of what you have done to the Raikage when he was in your village and will not allow you to insult him, as he is a hero to our village and our country, as well as a hero to many countries in the Heavenly Alliance. He saved our village from the tyrannical rule of the Godaime Raikage and restored it and made it stronger than it has ever been in its history. So we'll not allow anyone to insult him in our presence, for we would all gladly give up our lives for him, as we known he would do the same for any one of us as well," spoke Soifin. Upon hearing this, many of the Konoha and Suna shinobi had to admire Naruto as a leader, for it took a special kind of leader to receive this kind of fierce loyalty out of his subordinates. So I suggest that you watch your tongue, filth. Because if you don't, I will personally pull it out and make you eat it, for I will not allow anyone speak ill of my husband, spoke Soifin, which caused all the non-new Kumo shinobi's eyes to widen in surprise. Do I make myself clear? Said Soifin in a very serious, very dangerous and deadly tone of voice, where she dug her gauntlet blade point a little deeper into the Jonin's neck, while leaking out a very potent killing intent to make her point clear. Upon feeling Soifin's potent killing intent, the Suna, Konoha shinobi became very nervous, while the Jonin that Soifin had at her mercy was also sweating very nervously, as he could tell that Soifin was deadly serious at what she would do to him, where he gulped and said, "H-ha-hi." After hearing this, Soifin let go of the man and pushed him onto the ground, and gave the man a look of disgust. Let's go, I don't to be around this filth any longer than I have to be, spoke Soifin, where all the Shakunins and the new Kumo shinobis all nodded their heads and shunshin away to a new location to watch Naruto battle. Once they had gone, one young Konoha genin, who had survived all the fighting, spoke a single word that was shared by all there, damn. Also as well all the Suna and Konoha shinobis made mental note that they would never speak ill of Naruto in front of any new Kumo shinobi, especially a certain shock commander. With Naruto after defeating Onokuma, Naruto started to look around for where Ryoku had gone, as he knew he had fallen off Onokuma when he flipped him over, and he knew that the man would not give up until either one of them were dead, considering how much he hated the fact that he was the Yondaime Hokage's son. He also kept an eye out for where Orochimaru and Shiro went as well, as he knew that the snake wasn't the type to give up easily, nor would he unless he made Naruto pay for foiling his plans and destroying Konoha. Also Shiro was like Ryoku, who would not give up until either him or Naruto were dead, due to the number of defeats Naruto handed him. As Naruto looked around, he suddenly heard Ryoku's voice cry out from behind him. Doton, Jaware, Style, Fisher! W. When Naruto heard this, he quickly turned around, saw Ryoku appear several feet away from him, where he then slammed his fist into the ground, and created a large fissure that threatened to swallow Naruto, who quickly jumped away to avoid it. Seeing this, Ryoku jumped after Naruto, where he then engaged Naruto in a fierce taijutsu battle, or several minchus, where they traded punches and kicks with one another. Soon after, though, the two of them broke apart from one another, and jumped away to have some distance from each other, so to take a short break and regain themselves. Ryoku had several bruises and cuts on his body, from the entire battle he had from fighting Naruto, as well as a few from his short fight with Jiraiya. As Ryoku glared at Naruto, he spat out some blood in his mouth from the hit he had got from a punch to the jaw from Naruto. Other than his coat, pants and shirt being torn up a bit, and Naruto was perfectly fine, as any cuts, bruises that he had from his battle with Orochimaru, Ryoku and the others were healed thanks to his Shinjukokai, body renewal, limit. As he saw Ryoku glare at him angrily, he could not help smirk, which just seemed to anger the man further. Not too bad, Ryoku, although I have to say I was beginning to think that you were going to run off, after I defeated your summons on Akuma. As if I would run away like a coward from the likes from you. Only one of us will leave here alive, and all thought I may not have the satisfaction of seeing Konoha destroy, I will have your head as conciliation, spoke Ryoku. At this, Naruto could only scoff. You're pathetic, Ryoku. All you can do is think about is getting back at Namikaze for beating you. Even this invasion is just a way of getting back at him, and you're even holding me responsible for what he did to you, all because you know that you're too weak to beat him yourself. You could have let this petty little grudge of yours go long ago and become a good Kage to your people and help your village recover from the war. But instead you became a cold, cruel, heartless tyrant, as you couldn't let go of the fact that you were beaten by someone who was clearly stronger than you. You focused all your village's resources on enlarging your military, yet you never tried to help the rest of your people, where they suffered for it and many of them lost loved ones, all because you're nothing more than a petty, arrogant man who can't live with the fact that there's someone better than him. You will never beat me, Ryoku, and that is because you can't let go of the past, and when someone can't let go of the past they have no future, said Naruto. Upon hearing this, Ryoku saw red and roared in rage, where he then did a series of long hand seals and the roared out. Doton Mega Iweryu, Earth Style, Mega Rock Dragon. Upon doing this, a massive mound of earth erupted from the ground between them, where Naruto quickly shunshin away to gain more distance, and reappeared further back. upon which he saw the massive mound of earth form into a massive 100-meter-high dragon, after which it opened its mouth wide and charged straight at Naruto. "Didai! And join your parents in oblivion," roared Ryoku as he sent his dragon forward. Seeing this monstrous earth dragon heading directly towards him, Naruto knew what he had to do, as he was going to destroy the earth dragon and finish his fight with Ryoku once and for all with one jutsu. Quickly Naruto started to gather chakra into his hand and formed a Rasengan, spiraling sphere, in his right hand, but upon doing this he then started channel his wind affinity into the Rasengan, and then manipulated the wind chakra inside the Rasengan to form his futon, Rasen Shuriken, wind style, spiraling shuriken, where it gave off a loud bell-like screech after being formed. With the observing group, "That jutsu!" said Swanda in shock, knowing what Naruto must have done. "I don't believe," said an amazed Kakashi. "He's done it! He's actually done it! He's surpassed Minato and me!" said Jiraiya in complete astonishment. "Ero-sennin, what's going on? And what is that jutsu that Nissan doing? It looks like the Rasengan, but different, and what do you mean he surpassed you and the Yondaime?" asked Konohamaru, which was what everyone else were wondering as well, except for the new Kumo group. At this Jiraiya turned slightly to Konoha group and the others, while at the same time still staring at Naruto. "As you all know, back when the Yondaime was alive he created two techniques that he became famous for using and became his signature moves. The first was the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique, and the other was the Rasengan, which is an A-rank technique. The technique involves gathering chakra in a hand and then using shape transformation to shape and form it into a spiraling sphere in the user's hand, where although it's simple it's extremely hard to learn and difficult to master and dash," said Jiraiya, but was then interrupted by Konohamaru. "We know all that, Ero-sennin, get to the point," said Konohamaru as he knew all this, after Jiraiya taught him how to do the Rasengan. "I'm getting to it, brat, so hold your horses," rounded Jiraiya, where he continued. "Now as I was saying, when the Rasengan is fully formed, the compacted nature and moving speed of the chakra allows the Rasengan to grind into whatever it comes in contact with to inflict major damage, making it into a powerful jutsu, as there are few things that can withstand a direct assault of a Rasengan. But as powerful as the Rasengan is, it is still an incomplete jutsu," said Jiraiya, surprising most of the group. "But Jiraiya-sama, how can that be?" asked Sakura, as she had seen Jiraiya, Konohamaru, Kakashi and Naruto, before he was banished from the village, used the jutsu on several occasions in battle. As it was indeed an extremely powerful jutsu, which was why she found it hard to accept that the Rasengan was an incomplete jutsu. As I said, the Rasengan was created by the use of shape transformation. The Yondaime had wanted to take the shape transformation of his chakra to the highest possible point, and then combine it with his chakra's nature affinity, creating a jutsu that did not need the aid of time-consuming hand seals to control, turning the jutsu from an A-rank technique to an S-rank technique. But the task proved more difficult than the Yondaime thought, and he died before he had a chance to complete it, although by the looks of it, the kid did it. "Am I right, Zhuge Liang?" spoke Jiraiya, where he turned to Zhuge Liang. "You are correct, Jiraiya-san, as the Raikage did indeed sucked in adding his affinity into the Rasengan to form this jutsu. The jutsu itself I called Futon, Rasen Shuriken," answered Zhuge Liang. At this Kakashi nodded and decided to add in his own bit. "Naruto has also surpassed me as well as I tired to do it myself, after I had mastered the Rasengan. But it proved too difficult for me to complete either, although despite my failure in it I was able to learn from it, and use the knowledge to create my Chidori and Raikiri," said Kakashi. "Also it seems that Naruto went a step even further. He must have manipulated the wind chakra he channeled into the Rasengan and expanded it to form those 4 large points, so there's no telling how powerful that jutsu is," stated Jiraiya as he focused on what Naruto was going to do next with the jutsu. "Oh, we know," spoke Yujito, causing everyone to turn to her. "I won't go into details, but I will tell you it was strong enough to defeat Kakuzu when he and his partner Haiden tried to capture me, where when Naruto used it on him he was able to kill 2 of Kakuzu's hearts and mortally wound the 3rd in one go." Upon hearing this, all the non-new Kumo in the group were stunned at hearing that Naruto had created a jutsu like that, and did what the Yondaime Hokage failed to do. With Naruto as the Doton, Mega Awaria came towards him. Naruto prepared to use his Futon, Rasen Shuriken, and jumped into the air to meet the Earth Dragon head-on, and brought his Rasen Shuriken forwards to meet the Earth Dragon. As soon as Naruto's Rasen Shuriken clashed with the Earth Dragon, it went right through the massive Earth Dragon and tore it into pieces, using his momentum from jumping forward to meet the Earth Dragon. Naruto pushed forward, ripping the Earth Dragon apart, and charged right at Ryoku, who could not believe that his attack was being destroyed so easily by Naruto's. Impossible! What is that jutsu? Cried Ryoku in disbelief. To answer Ryoku's question, Naruto cried out, Futon, Raisin Shuriken! Just as he was about to hit Ryoku, who quickly used his IWA no Yoroi to try and protect himself. As soon as Naruto's attack hit him, his Raisin Shuriken, it utterly shattered Ryoku's IWA no Yoroi, who was then sent forward and pushed Ryoku back several feet away from Naruto, who quickly channeled his chakra to his feet to keep himself from being blown away by the coming wind blast. For as soon as Ryoku was pushed away from Naruto, the Raisin Shuriken enveloped him a vortex of wind blades. With the observing group, as the group watched Naruto's attack destroy the massive Earth Dragon, they watched with amazement as Naruto's attack hit Ryoku and created a sphere of wind blades. Kakashi and Sasuke both quickly revealed their Sharingans again to analyze the technique, for although they couldn't copy it, they could at least learn how it worked. But much to their shock and amazement, their Sharingans could not keep up with all of the attack's individual strikes. After which there was a massive explosion, when the attack expanded outward, where another large crater was formed with Ryoku floating in midair and being slashed up by thousands of tiny wind blades, before he then fell to the ground. TTTH, that was... said Shizen could not say what she wanted as she was completely blown away by the power of Naruto Raisin Shuriken. Wow! Was all that Kiba could say as his mouth was open wide enough to put his fist into it. Naruto-kun! Muttered Hinata with disbelief. Holy cow! Said Aino. Truly amazing, spoke a stunned guy. Even with my Sharingan I couldn't count all the individual strikes, muttered a stunned Kakashi, which shocked everyone more so to hear that even the Sharingan couldn't keep up with the jutsu. What a jutsu! Thought Kakashi with pure astonishment. You never cease to surprise me, brat, thought Jiraiya with a slight smile of pride for his godson. It's over now. Even if Ryoku is somehow still alive, there's nothing he can do, as the wind blades of Naruto's Raisin Shuriken sever the nerve channels in the target's body, leaving the target unable to move after being struck. Also, as well, his shinobi career is over, spoke Zhuge Liang. What do you mean by that? Asked Tenten. When a person is hit by the Raisin Shuriken, the attack not only attacks the nerve channels in the target's body, it also attacks the chakra circulatory system of the target, said Zhuge Liang. Upon hearing this, Tsunade, Shizen, Sakura, Hinata and Ino gasped in shock at what Naruto's technique could do, as they knew due to their knowledge of the human body and their medical knowledge, that when the human chakra circulatory system is damaged, it cannot be repaired by any form of medical ninjutsu. Depending on how severe the damage is, the person may not be able to perform jutsu ever again, just as Zhuge Liang said. What a technique! Thought Tsunade in complete and utter amazement. Naruto! Thought Sasuke as he narrowed his eyes and glared angrily at him, while at the same time closed his fist tightly, where he began to make his hand bleed once again, as the more he watched this battle the farther away Naruto seemed to him in strength. Also watching the battle with disbelief and shock was Orochimaru, who had been hiding behind a building watching the battle. Where he saw Naruto use the Raisin Shuriken, he could not help but be stunned at the power of the technique. How could that boy possess, let alone create, such a technique? I can't afford to underestimate him any longer, thought Orochimaru, as he planned what to do next. After the technique ended, Naruto started to slowly close and open his hand, using the Raisin Shuriken while still holding it. Was a double-edged sword for the user for all, although it was incredibly powerful and could do unparalleled damage to the opponent's body. The jutsu would also do damage to the user's arm as well, as it does limited amount of cellular damage to his arm. According to Retsu, the Raisin Shuriken's attack acted like poison due to it attacking at the cellular level. It was because of this and the effect it had on the users that the Zhuge Liang suggested labeling the Raisin Shuriken as an S-rank kinjutsu, which Naruto agreed to. This was why Naruto was the only one who could do the Raisin Shuriken while still holding it, thanks to his Shinju Kokai bloodline, as his bloodline could heal the damage done to his arm by the attack. But even still, with his bloodline, it would take a few minutes for his bloodline to heal the damage, as the damage was done at the cellular level. Down in the crater, Ryoku was still alive, but was covered in dirt, cuts, and his own blood, and was unable to move his body due to Naruto's Raisin Shuriken. No, I will not lose to him, not to him, muttered Ryoku over and over again, as he then began to hallucinations, images of Naruto and the Yondaime, standing side by side over him, both with the same arrogant smirks on their faces. Both looking exactly alike, except for the outfits and hairstyles, and both telling him he lost again to them, and that he would always lose to them and that he should stay where he was, under their feet and in the shadow of greater men like them. No, 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 and no! I will never lose to you again, Namecase! Roared Ryoku as he scraped some of the grounds up with his hand, and somehow, despite the state of his body and by sheer willpower, he stood up. Where once again by sheer willpower leapt into the air and towards Naruto with his fist, for although he could not use jutsu anymore, he was determined to kill Naruto, even if it was the last thing he did and if he had to do it with his bare hands. At that moment Naruto had turned his back to the crater and was just about to walk away, until he heard Ryoku roar of rage and turned around slightly to see Ryoku somehow leaping into the air, still covered in blood, dirt and cuts, but with his fist raised and coming towards him. With the observing group. "Impossible!" cried Fu in shock. "There's no way he should still be able to fight after being hit by the Raikage Raisin Shuriken, let alone move. It's impossible," said Okatsu, with equally surprise, as like everyone in the group she was just as shocked to see Ryoku jump out of the crater as she was. Although Zhuge Liang just narrowed his eyes, and showed no signs of shock. With Naruto. "DDDIE Namecase!" roared Ryoku as he neared Naruto, where due to wounded condition he was in, Ryoku had lost all sense of reality, and saw Naruto as he father, thinking it was him. When Naruto saw Ryoku heading towards him, he just narrowed his eyes, and coldly said, "You really are a stubborn fool, Ryoku," before he quickly formed a Otama Rasengan, great ball spiraling sphere, in his left hand, and slammed it into Ryoku's stomach, causing the large man to spite out large amount of blood, after which sending him flying into the air and out of the cleared area. With the IWA forces. "Die Konoha scum!" cried Barugu as he brought his Zanbato down on a Konoha nin he had wounded, but before he could several lightning-enhanced kunai flew at him, forcing him to jump away from the wounded Konoha nin he had been about to kill. When he landed back on the ground he saw a squad of storm nins and several new Kumo Jonins who now reinforced the numerical inferior Konoha and Suna shinobis in this area. Joined by some of his own shinobis, Barugu charged at the enemy shinobis and fought them in a fierce battle, but despite battling valiantly Barugu and his forces were losing and were being driven back, with heavily losses. As Barugu blocked that katana strike from a storm nin with his Zanbato, he saw something fly over them from behind the Konoha lines. Soon after he was joined by one of the Jonin squad commanders, who created an earth wall to separate Barugu from the storm nin he had been fighting. "Barugu-senpai, we have found your father in the building that was just destroyed a few minutes ago. As seemingly he was blasted here by some jutsu, he's critically injured," spoke the Jonin. "What?" cried Barugu, disbelief. "Our medics are currently working frantically to stabilize him, but we need to get him back to IWA as quickly as possible, as he will surely die if we don't," spoke the Jonin. Upon hearing this, Barugu gripped his sword handle tighter in rage and then slammed it into the ground. But before he could say anything, an IWA Chunin suddenly appeared to his other side. "Barugu-senpai, our line is broken and the new Kumo shinobi along with the Konoha defenders have joined up and driving our forces back on our right flank, and Kiri forces have retreated and a third of the Konoha, Suna and new Kumo forces from that front are pushing our forces back and are threatening to outflank us on our left flank as well. You need to call a retreat before any chance of escape becomes impossible and our forces are slaughtered," said the Chunin. At hearing this, Barugu roared out in rage. "Damn it!" Upon shouting this, the earth wall that the Jonin and created earlier to separate them from the storm nins blew up, where 5 storm nins appeared and charged at them. Deciding to make a quick retreat, Barugu and the 2 IWA nins shunshined away to a new location. Upon appearing in a safe location, Barugu came to a decision and ordered the 2 to radio out to all remaining forces to retreat. The 2 IWA nins quickly nodded and began to radio the army to retreat. As Barugu watched his remaining forces begin to retreat, he gripped the handle of his Zanbato tightly once again in rage at having to order a retreat. Just when victory was in their grasp, it slipped away from them, thanks to the interference of New Kumo and the Raikage. It was in that moment that Barugu swore he would make both New Kumo and the Raikage pay for this defeat, after which Barugu turned around and joined his remaining forces in their retreat out of Konoha and Hai no Kuni, Fire Country, and back to the IWA. With Naruto with Ryoku been dealt with, Naruto was about to go and search for Orochimaru and Shiro and deal with them, but before he even could he suddenly saw Orochimaru appear a distance away from him, where he then quickly made a Kage Bunshin of himself, After which both Orochimaru and his clone bit their own thumbs and spread blood on their summoning seals and cried, "Kuchios no Jutsu!" Upon which Orochimaru summoned the snake boss Manda and was standing on his head, while his clone summoned 6 giant snakes, after which it puffed away. At the same time as well, Naruto saw another large puff of smoke appear coming from the now water-filled crater that was in the center of the clear area that he created when he had powered up earlier. The crater had been filled with the water of Shiro's Bakusui Shoha attack earlier. When Naruto turned to the water-filled crater, he saw a giant black sea serpent standing in the water with Shiro standing on top of its head. 7. Guess it time to up the ante a bit, muttered Naruto, as he then rolled up both his sleeves, revealing 2 summoning tattoos, 1 on each wrist. 8. Once he rolled up his sleeves, Naruto bit both his thumbs and made them bleed a bit, and spread some blood on his summoning tattoos, after which he then slammed his hands onto the ground and cried out, "Kuchios no Jutsu!" After which 2 massive puffs of smoke appeared. The first was a large orange toad, with markings, a dark sleeveless vest with the kanji toad on it, and a large dosa blade on its back. The toad was about the same size of Gamabunta and the other great battle toad, although was younger than they were. This toad name was Gamakichi, a long-time friend of Naruto. The second puff of smoke was a massive white tiger with green strips on it, and had golden-like armor on it. This summons was the boss of the tiger summons and was named Byakko. Naruto had acquired the summoning contract when he came into Kaminari no Kuni, Lightning Country. When he acquired the summoning contract and became its summoner, he had trouble getting both Byakko and Gamabunta to be willing to work together and agree to allow him to summon either them or their tribe members. But eventually he got to them agree, where both summoning tribes learned actually respect one another. With the observing group, "What the hell is going on here? Naruto shouldn't be able to summon Gamakichi, his contract expired with the toads," said a shocked Jiraiya. "And when did he get that overgrown cat?" said Kiba, as he did really like cats considering his clan's link with dogs. "Zhuge Liang, what is the meaning of this?" asked Tsunade as she and the other turned to a smirking Zhuge Liang and the other new Kumo shinobis. "You forget, Jiraiya-san, the key thing to a shinobi is deception," replied Zhuge Liang with annoying smirk. "And what's that supposed to mean?" said annoyed Jiraiya as he wasn't in the mood for one of Zhuge Liang's games. Still smirking, Zhuge Liang spoke again. "Tell me, Jiraiya-san, how do you know that Naruto contract expired with the toads? My old teacher, the elder toad Fukasaku, told me when I asked him if Naruto's was alive or dead, when we found his bloody jacket," replied Jiraiya. "Yet here he is alive and well and is still able to summon the toads," said Zhuge Liang. "Are you saying the toads lied to me?" "Impossible, they would never deliberately lie to me about something like that," said Jiraiya, as he refused to believe that Fukasaku lied to him, and there had to be some explanation. "Then tell me, why can the Raikage summon the toads, when they said he was dead and his contract with them expired? Also tell me, why is it that you did not try reverse summoning Naruto to find him after he was banished? Also as well, why is it that the toad that Naruto summoned does not seem surprised to see the Raikage and that he summoned him?" spoke Zhuge Liang. At this Jiraiya had no answer to, as it didn't make any sense to him, as Fukasaku had told him himself that Naruto's connection with the toads was gone, meaning that he was dead. Also, when he first found out about Naruto's banishment, and try and find him and asked Fukasaku to locate Naruto for him and reverse summon him, Fukasaku said they could not, saying that something kept them from doing so. Not only that, but just as Zhuge Liang said, Gamakichi didn't look the least bit surprised at seeing Naruto, whereas he saw them talking together. Gamakichi was acting like as if he and Naruto had only spoke recently instead of years. It was then that Jiraiya knew that something was up and that for some reason the toads had lied to him about Naruto being dead and being unable to find him. It was also then that he decided that when this battle was over and everything had been sorted out, he was going to confront his old teachers and demand some answers from them. As Jiraiya was planning on what to say when he confronted the toads about Naruto's death, Yujito turned to Kiba and answered his question. "Naruto found the tiger summons about 3 years, during the civil war in Kaminari no Kuni, at the same time that he found the sword of Tengu," spoke Yujito, after which a sinister-like smirk appeared on face. "Also, if I were you, dog boy, I wouldn't insult Byakko or any of the tiger summons, as not only are they very powerful fighters, they are also a very proud summons. As they don't take insults very well, as they would chew you up and spit you out like a bad hairball," finished Yujito and smiled slightly at seeing the nervous look appear on Kiba's face. With Naruto and the others. "Yo Naruto, been a while, glad to see ya. I didn't think I'd be getting involved in this battle with Pops and the others in it," said Gamakichi as he looked up at Naruto, who was on Byaku's head. "Yeah, Gamakichi, hope you don't mind me summoning you instead of your dad or the others," spoke Naruto. "Nah, I don't mind. Besides, it's just as well you summoned me, as Pops and the others are pretty tired after fighting for most of the day against those snake summons. That's why they went back home after they saw you fighting the bear boss Onokuma, and Gamatatsu has ate too much again and has a sick stomach, so he can't fight today," said Gamakichi. "Okay then," replied Naruto. "Naruto, why have you summoned me as well? It better be for fighting a strong opponent, or for a good reason, as you know how I feel about fighting weaklings and pointless battles," spoke the tiger boss Byaku. "Don't worry, Byaku, this battle is far from pointless. We're facing Orochimaru and Shiro, the Mizukage of Kirigakure, who are both guilty of countless crimes against countless people, including their own people, as you well know. They are also the last of the leaders of the coalition that I told you about, who plan on attacking the Heavenly Alliance later on. Not only that, but you and Gamakichi get to face their boss summons as well," spoke Naruto. At this, Byaku gave a tooth grin, which would make most people nervous, as it made him seem more frightening. "Well then, if you put it like that, then this may actually be an enjoyable battle. I thought you would agree," replied Naruto with a smirk. "Hey Naruto, Byaku, if you don't mind I call Manda, as it's about time that I setting the score with him and my family," spoke Gamakichi as he narrowed his eyes at Manda. "Fine by me, as I'll take Ikuchi the sea serpent boss, as I prefer sushi to snake meat anyhow," said Byaku as he licked his lips slightly. "Leftovers are fine by me, boys," said Naruto as he drew out the Raijin and activating it, and stared at the 6 other giant snake summons that Orochimaru's clone summoned. Upon activating it, the yellow lightning bolt-shaped blade appeared, which of course surprised Swanda slightly at her great-uncle's blade new shape. Even though she had heard about it from Kakashi's and the others' report from Nami no Kuni, it was still surprising to see it. At the same time that Naruto was talking with his summons Byaku and Gamakichi, Orochimaru was speaking to Manda. "Orochimaru, why have you used to summon me here?" hissed the snake summoned boss angrily. "Manda, I need you help and defeat a powerful enemy, the Raikage of New Kumogakure," spoke Orochimaru. "You have summoned me for that?" said Manda with a frown. "You have grown weak, Orochimaru. If you cannot defeat someone like that, I should just devour you myself for being so weak," he replied as he looked at Naruto, who was sitting on Byaku's head. "Don't underestimate him, Manda. That boy is the Yondaime Hokage's son and the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Yoko, and is far more powerful than he appears," warned Orochimaru. "Regardless of whose son he is and what he is, I will devour him along with that worthless toad and overgrown cat, after which I will expect 100 sacrifices from you," said Manda at the same time as well Shiro was speaking with his summons. "Shiro, why have you summoned me?" asked Ikuchi. "Ikuchi, I'm facing the Rokudaime Raikage and his summons, and I need your strength to help me finally kill him," spoke Ikuchi. "So that is the infamous Erashur no Oni, demon of storms, that has caused you so much trouble. Very well then, I will help you kill him," replied Ikuchi, where as soon as he said this they heard a large snarling roar coming from Byaku, who charged forward at them, while Gamakichi leapt into the air towards Manda and Orochimaru, while Naruto rubbed some more blood on a storage seal tattoo he had underneath his wrist, where he summoned a large scroll and unveiled it, where he then cried out, "Gyakkuchios no Jutsu, reverse summoning technique," after which a shadow clone of Naruto in a meditative stance appeared and quickly disappeared, much to the confusion of those watching. After the clone puffed away, Naruto then charged forward at the 6 other giant snake summons. Within a few seconds, Naruto quickly traveled the distance between him and the 6 giant snake summons, 2 of which were charging at him as well. As he neared them, he quickly formed his futon, raising shuriken in his free hand, and then threw it, much to the utter shock of everyone watching, with the observing group. "He threw it?" cried Tsunade in shock. "Impossible! How can he throw chakra with that kind of high rotation and destiny?" cried Jiraiya with disbelief, as he didn't think something like that was possible. As Zhuge Liang and the other new Kumonins watched this, they could not help but all have knowing smirks on their faces. "It's a good thing that you sent a clone to Mount Myaboku before we arrived here, Naruto, in the event that you might need to use your Toad Sage mode. As without the natural energy you would have not have been able to use the long-range version of the Raisin Shuriken," thought Zhuge Liang. The group continued to watch Raisin Shuriken fly towards the giant snakes, and in between them as they moved towards Naruto. after which the Raisin Shuriken expanded where it sliced the giant snakes in half, and then sucked in the rest of their bodies where another wind sphere was created, upon which there was a massive explosion. When the explosion ended, both the snakes' bodies were completely vaporized. "It vaporized them," said a gaping Konohamaru, who couldn't believe the power that this version of the Raisin Shuriken had. "Incredible," said Jiraiya, as it was obvious that Naruto had indeed surpassed Minato and him. "It's not possible," thought Orochimaru atop Manda's head, who was battling Gamakichi, and saw what Naruto had done to two of the snakes he had summoned. How could he have thrown a jutsu like that the way he did? And how can simply throwing it increase that jutsu's power that much? How does that wretched brat keep doing these things? Thought Orochimaru as what he saw didn't make any sense to him. With Naruto after dealing with the first two snakes, the next two appeared from underneath the ground. Naruto quickly jumped away and avoided being eaten by one of the giant snakes, as it opened its mouth as it came out of the ground. But as soon as he landed on the ground, the second giant snake came at him with its mouth open and tried to eat him. Quickly Naruto used his Surarai, Thunder Slash 9, and sent a slashing blade of energy and cut the giant snake in half right down the middle, while its mouth was still open. After being cut in half, the two halves of the giant snake went right past Naruto on either side of him, where when they landed on the ground several feet away from behind Naruto, the two halves puffed away. After the third snake was dead, the fourth then tried once again to eat Naruto whole, by striking down at him, but Naruto quickly jumped into the air again and landed on its head, when the snake mouth hit the ground. After which Naruto then stabbed down on the snake head with the Raijin, where he then channeled a massive amount of the Raijin's energy into the ship, along with a large amount of his own lightning chakra with it, and caused a massive amount of lightning to run through the giant snake's body and caused it to explode, covering Naruto in the snake blood, which thankfully puffed away along with the remainder of the giant snake body. With the second pair of giant snakes dead, the finally two charged at Naruto. Seeing this, Naruto decided to finish them both with one jutsu, where Naruto then deactivated the Raijin and placed it back on his utility belt. After which he began to form Rasengan on each on of his fingertips, once again shocking the group, especially Konohamaru, Jiraiya and Kakashi, as they didn't think something like that was even possible, as the control let alone the concentration to do something like that would be unreal. Soon enough 10 small Rasengans were formed, with one on each fingertip. As the giant snakes came closer, Naruto then thrust both his open hands forward and cried out, "Rasengan Sujudin, spinning sphere string shot! Why?" After which the 10 small Rasengans shot out of his fingertips, but remained connected to Naruto by chakra strings, where after being thrown the 10 Rasengans grew into the size of Otama Rasengans. Naruto then used the chakra strings that connected him to the Otama Rasengans and controlled their directions, where they hit the giant snake's head on, causing another large explosion, after which when the smoke cleared, the snake's dead bodies fell to the ground and they puffed away. With the observing group, "Wow! What was that?" asked Konohamaru in surprise. "That was the Raikage Rasengan Sujudin, whereas you can see it involved creating Rasengans on his fingertips and firing them, and controlling their direction with chakra strings. And as you saw, it quite a powerful technique," spoke Okatsu. Upon hearing this, Konohamaru could not help but be amazed at all the different ways Naruto had created to use the Rasengan, and even wondered if he could get Naruto to teach him that version later on. "Why didn't I ever think of doing something like that?" thought Jiraiya, although he would only be able to use it with just a single Rasengan in each hand. "I still think he should have called it the Rasengan Yo-Yo, stated Killer Bee, where Yujito just shook her head in annoyance, as she wasn't going to dignify that with a response. "Damn it, why do I keep losing to him?" thought Sasuke as he gripped both his hands tightly, as he saw Naruto single-handedly defeat the bear boss summons Onokuma and now 6 giant snake summons, without having to summon something of equal size or strength as them, and what more, Naruto defeated them in ways that he could never hope to do, which infuriated him all the more. Why? Why is he so much stronger? And why am I always so inferior? Thought the furious Uchiha, as his blood was beginning to boil, due to how angry he was right now. With Naruto after killing the last of the giant snakes, Naruto then deactivated his Sage mode, as he no longer needed it. He also didn't want to risk using it for too long and run out of Sage chakra, leaving his body weakened. After doing so, he used his Rappo to the water-filled crater, where Shiro and his summons Ikuchi were battling with Byakko, who, despite battling in the water, which gave Ikuchi the field advantage, Byakko was still able to battle with Ikuchi in the water-filled crater as an equal, proving that the chief of the tiger summons was a powerful summons. Currently Ikuchi had its long body around Byakko, but yet couldn't restrain the large tiger summons, as Byakko clawed and bit at whatever body part he could that belonged to Ikuchi. It was in this point that Ikuchi and Shiro both fired high-pressure water attacks at Byakko. Seeing this, Byakko quickly used his Tekkaku Steel Iron Fur Z, where Byakko channeled his chakra into his fur coat to make it hard as steel, allowing him to withstand the high-pressure water attacks. When the attacks ended, Byakko released his defensive jutsu, upon which Ikuchi then went forward, with his mouth wide open ready to bite Byakko with his sharp teeth. Seeing this, Byakko prepared to fight back, as he was about to raise his claws and slash out at Ikuchi, but before he could, a blue flash appeared and hit Ikuchi in the side of the head, causing it to reel back. After the hit, the blue flash revealed itself to be Naruto, who was now standing on Byakko's head. "Naruto, what are you doing here?" asked Byakko, as he looked up at Naruto on his head. "Well, I finished my fight with those snakes, and when I saw you hadn't dealt with Ikuchi yet, I decided to give you a hand," replied Naruto friendly-like. "I don't need your help, as I can handle him by myself," replied the giant white tiger chief. "I sure you can, but Ikuchi has Shiro, and I think it's only fair that I'd be with you. Besides, summoners are supposed to work and fight alongside their summons, so it's only right that I'd be with you when you fight those two," answered Naruto. "Fine then, just don't get my way," said Byakko, although he had a light smirk, as although he wouldn't admit it, he did appreciate Naruto's support. "So you're the Raikage of Kumo I heard about," spoke Ikuchi as he looked at Naruto. "You will pay from that hit you gave me, and I will enjoy eating you." "Just try," replied Naruto. "Let get them, Byakko!" Where Byakko just nodded and let out another fierce roar. For a few minutes the two boss summons continued their fierce battle with one another in the water-filled crater, biting and scratching at each other, with their respected summoners firing jutsu at one another or each other summons, hoping to give themselves the advantage in the battle. As the battle went on, Ikuchi was able to finally wrap his body around Byakko, where he then began to squeeze him. "Byakko, time to give Ikuchi a little shock," said Naruto. "Right," cried Byakko, where he then began to convert his chakra in lightning and cried out, "Saidenki, static shock, eh!" When Byakko released the lightning he created, Ikuchi was forced to let go of Byakko, where he then screamed in pain of being electrocuted, as the lightning was only enhanced thanks to the water. Shiro, of course, was able to avoid this fate by jumping up into the air at the very last second. "Now's your chance, Byakko, take him out!" cried Naruto, seeing that Ikuchi was helpless after the lightning attack ended. "Kaso, Tiger Claw, BB!" cried Byakko, where he raised his right claws and he channeled chakra into them, and making them glow white, where he used his claws to cut Ikuchi's head off with a single swipe, which then fell into the water and was followed by his body, which still wriggled a bit. "You can handle things from here, Naruto," spoke Byakko. "Right, thanks for your help, Byakko," replied Naruto, where the tiger boss just nodded, and before he puffed away with Ikuchi's body, he turned to Naruto again. "And try not to get yourself killed," grunted the large tiger, where Naruto smirked and said he won't, after which the tiger summoned puffed away to enjoy his meal. Although as soon as Byakko left, several spinning fangs appeared on the water around him and launched at him all at once on all sides. Seeing this, Naruto did 3 quick and seals and cried, "Suetun, Suijin Hiki, water style, water encampment wall!" As soon as the attack ended, Naruto let the water wall around him down, although as soon as he was stabbed with a kunai in the neck by Shiro, who appeared suddenly in front of him. But before Shiro could even smirk in killing the Raikage, Naruto turned into water, revealing that Naruto had somehow replaced himself with a Mizu Bunshin he had created when inside the water wall. As soon as Shiro realized this, he frowned with annoyance, as not only had his Suetun, Suigaden, water style, water fang bullet, failed, but his surprise attack as well. Upon destroying the Mizu Bunshin, he saw some shadowy figures coming out of the water, but before he could do anything he saw 4 Narutos bust out of the water on all sides and punch him into the air. Upon which the real Naruto appeared above Shiro and slams his heel into Shiro's chest while shouting out, "Uzumaki Naruto Rindan, Uzumaki Naruto combo!" and sent Shiro flying into the water below and crashing into it. After landing gently back on the water's surface below, Naruto dispelled his clones, upon which the water below him began to recede, where a gigantic wave appeared in front of him, and was far larger than any water attack he'd seen before. Once the wave was formed, Shiro appeared on top of it, and finishing doing hand seals and shouted out, Prepare yourself, Raikage, you're about to face my strongest attack. Suetun, Dai Tsunami Suyajai, Water Style, Giant Tsunami Water Whale. CC. Upon which a giant whale made out of water appeared, followed by the rest of the giant wave of water and Shiro. As the massive water attack came at him, Naruto narrowed his eyes and then did a single hand seal and cried out. Suetun, Dai Suihiki, Water Style, Giant Water Wall. DD. After which a giant wall of water burst out of the ground in front of Naruto, where it quickly grew to the size of Shiro's attack. Within seconds of being summoned, the two water justices collided with one another, and despite nearly giving into the strain of Shiro's attack, the giant water wall held, where Shiro's Dai Tsunami Suyajai complaced on itself and onto Shiro, who couldn't believe his attack was beaten. With Shiro's attack stopped, the giant water wall cold-spade as well, falling on top of an already dragged Shiro, while Naruto shunted away, before the water could collapse on him as well. After a minute or so, Shiro appeared above water again. Panting heavily for breath, he started to lift himself up onto the surface of the water, by channeling his chakra to his hands and feet to lift himself out of the water. As he did, he started to look around for Naruto to see where he was, in case he tried to attack him in his vulnerable state. Looking for me? Spoke Naruto from above Shiro, who was just 1/3 out of the way out of the water. When Naruto said this, where he then looked up to see Naruto holding the sword of Tengu in his hand with lightning around its blade. This is the end for your Shiro, along with your bloody tyrannical reign as the Mizukage of Kirigakure, as it is time for you to pay for your crimes, as well as your insult to Tengu, said Naruto. As he raised Tengu over his head and cried Tengu, and slashed his katana downward and sent a powerful blast of lightning due toward Shiro, who tried to get out of the water and avoid the attack. But the lightning blast came down too fast for Shiro to fully get out of the water as the lightning blast hit it, where Shiro was electrocuted by the lightning-enhanced water. Shiro's screams of pain and agony could be clearly heard by all around, where after a minute or two it ended, where all that was left of Shiro was his electrified burnt corpse floating above the water. With Shiro now dead, Naruto then resheathed Tengu back on his sheath on his back, where he then disappeared once again in a blue flash to deal with Orochimaru, the last of the coalition leaders. Currently fighting with Orochimaru and Manda was Gamakichi, as he was engaged in a fierce fight with him. Gamakichi fired a Katon, Enden, fire-style, flame bullet, at Manda, who was able to avoid the flame bullet, where he then went forward and tried bite Gamakichi with his poisoned fangs. Luckily though, Gamakik was able to jump away and avoid it, where he then drew his dosu from his back and tried to cut Manda head off with his Gamadosuzan, Toad's sword beheading. Unfortunately, Manda was able to avoid it by going underground, and before Gamakichi could do anything, Manda then burst out of the ground underneath Gamakichi and wrapped himself around the young large toad. Gamakichi tried to resist Manda, where he tried to struggle out of Manda's bind, but Orochimaru interfered with that by spitting out a poison shot into Gamakichi's eyes, blinding him. Now I'm going to squeeze you until you burst, like the wart that you are, hissed Manda as he started to squeeze Gamakik more and more. But just as it looked like Gamakichi was finished, a sudden massive blast of lightning hit Manda square in the face, causing a large burn mark on his face, making the giant snake boss hiss in pain and loosening his grip of Gamakiki, who quickly took his chance and get out of Manda's hold. It jumped away a bit and gained some distance from them. Who did that? Hissed Manda angrily. That would be me, said Naruto as he appeared on top of Gamakichi's head, where he then used the Suetun, Suisher no Jutsu, water style, water drowning technique, to spit out a large amount of water into Gamakichi's eyes and wash away the poison and allow him to see. Thanks Naruto, I own you one, spoke the grateful Toad Chief's son. No prob Gamakiki, what are friends for? Replied Naruto. SSS, so you're the Raikage and the Yandame Hokage-san, I remember you, hissed Manda angrily as he remembered seeing him when Naruto was younger, and he battled Gamabunta and Katsuyu 10 years ago. I will devour you, for what you did to me, we see about that, replied Naruto, where he then told Gamakiki it was time for a little combination attack, where Gamakichi fired a Gamayuden, Toad oil bullet, while Naruto fired a lightning attack, whereby using the oil as an accelerant, the lightning ignited the oil bullet into a flamethrower-like effect, thereby creating Katon, Gamaya Enden, fire style, Toad oil flame bullet. The massive flamethrower-like stream flew towards Manda and it hit the snake boss dead on. But just as the flames died, they saw only his skin, revealing that Manda and Orochimaru had avoided the hit. As soon as they realized this, Manda once again appeared from the ground underneath Gamakichi and tried to sink his fangs into Gamakichi's neck. Fortunately, though, Naruto prevented this by jumping forward and using his Raikage to enhance his punching power. He delivered a powerful punch to the snake's boss's face, causing Manda to reel back from the punch in pain. Upon Naruto doing this, Gamakichi once again jumped back to gain some distance from Manda. After Naruto had punched Manda in the face, Orochimaru had appeared in front of him with the sword of Kusanagi and tried to stab him with it. Luckily, though, Naruto avoided the hit by ducking under the stab, where he then quickly formed a Rasengan in his right hand and slammed it into Orochimaru's gut, sending the snake's Sannin flying off Manda. With Orochimaru dealt with, Naruto then quickly placed the palm of his hands on Manda's head and converted a large amount of chakra into lightning and channeled it into Manda's body, thereby covering and filling the snake boss's body with lightning and electrocuting him from the inside and out. "Now's your chance, Gamakichi!" cried Naruto as he electrocuted Manda, who was crying in pain of Naruto's attack and couldn't move. "Right!" cried Gamakichi as he charged forward with his dosu and used his Gamadosuzan and cut the great snake boss's head off, who before his head was cut off cried out, "See your ale!" Upon Manda's head being cut off by Gamakichi, Naruto quickly jumped off it and landed on Gamakichi's head, after which they watched Manda's head fall to the ground along with his body, which wriggled for a few minutes. With Manda dead, Gamakichi then sheathed his dosu and then went and picked up Manda's body. "Do you need me to hang around here and give you a hand, Naruto?" asked Gamakichi. "Nah. I can handle the rest here myself, thanks, Gamakichi," said Naruto. "Okay then, I see you later. I'm sure Pop's going to love the wallet when I show it to him and tell him that it made from Manda's hide. I might even have enough spare for one from Gramps along with purses from Mom and Grandma as well. See ya around, Naruto," said Gamakichi as he puffed away with Manda's body, while Manda's head puffed back from whence he came. After Gamakichi left, Naruto then gracefully landed back on the ground, where he then walked over to a furious Orochimaru, who had just finished shedding himself after the damage he suffered from Naruto's attack. Not only had his plans for destroying Konoha been ruined, but his allies were all dead, along with his strongest summons, and he now had to face Naruto alone, where his chances of victory as well as survival were slim to none right now. With the observing group, "All right, Naruto! He's got this in the bag now!" cried Kiba. "He's incredible!" said Ino. "Indeed, the Raikage is truly amazing," said Sai. "I wouldn't be celebrating just yet if I were you," spoke Jiraiya seriously, as he narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean, Ero-Sennin? Nisan's won, all that's left is that team. Orochimaru and Nisan can take him, as he took out all the others, and he's not even hurt or tired yet, so taking out Orochimaru should be a cinch for Nisan," spoke Konohamaru. "It's because, like you said, Naruto has Orochimaru cornered, and that is when he is at his most dangerous," stated the Toad Sage. "That is indeed true," spoke Zhuge Liang. "As an cornered animal is always a dangerous thing to face, as they will try anything to escape, meaning Orochimaru will try anything to either win or escape this situation." At hearing this, everyone paid close attention to see what happens next. With Naruto and Orochimaru, as Naruto slowly walked towards Orochimaru, the snake Sannin was desperately trying to think up a way to get out of the situation he was in right now, as everything had gone utterly wrong. "Curse this brat, how could all my carefully laid plans have been ruined by him?" thought Orochimaru, as he knew that without the support of his allies he stood no chance against Naruto alone. Yet he still found it hard to believe that Naruto had been able to kill all his allies by himself. He simply could not believe Naruto had become this powerful. "There has to be a way for me to turn this around to my favor? I should have killed you when I had the chance," hissed Orochimaru, angrily cursing himself for not killing Naruto when he first met him in the Forest of Death, during the Chunin exam 10 years ago, to test Sasuke to see if he was a worthy candidate to be his next vessel. "Yes, you should have, but you didn't, and now you're going to die," said Naruto, as he stood in front of Orochimaru, where his hands began to generate lightning around it, showing that Naruto was preparing to use his Raikage. Orochimaru prepared himself, as he had no intention of dying, as he was going to fight to the bitter end if he had to survive. But just as Naruto was about to attack, several smoke bombs exploded in front of him, followed by several kunais and shurikens, which Naruto was able to dodge easily enough and jumped back a bit. When the smoke cleared, Kabuto was showed standing next to Orochimaru with 4 other Oto Jonins. "Orochimaru-sama, are you alright?" asked Kabuto as he turned to his master. I'm fine, Kabuto, but what are you doing here? What of our forces? Said Orochimaru. Kusa and the Hanya clan forces are in utter confusion, where they began to retreat, but were cut off by the mountainside collapsing and blocking their escape route. Most don't know what to do and are surrendering, as they were surrounded by the new Kumo forces and Konoha defenders. The IWA forces are retreating as they were being forced back with heavy losses, and they're threatened to be outflanked and surrounded by the Konoha defenders and the new Kumo forces. All of Kiri's forces have already fled or surrendered, and our own forces are been slaughtered, as the new Kumo forces have blocked the tunnels that the Snake Summons made, and the Konoha defenders and the other new Kumo forces have surrounded them, answered Kabuto. What of Guren, where is she? Asked Orochimaru, finding it strange that she was not with Kabuto. She has been captured by the new Kumo forces, replied Kabuto, which surprised Orochimaru, as he didn't think there was anyone that could defeat and capture Guren, with the except of himself and a few select others. Well, Kabuto team, so good to see you again. I was sort of hoping that Mitsuhide would fail to capture or eliminate you, as now I have the pleasure of beating the crap out of you myself, spoke the young blonde-haired Raikage. When Kabuto turned to face to look at his unmasked face, Kabuto was surprised to say the least. The Yondaime Hokage, BB, but how? He stuttered Sokka in disbelief. That isn't the Yondaime, it's Kyuubi Brat, as he's alive! As well as the Rokudaime Raikage and is the Yondaime's son, said Orochimaru angrily. At hearing this, Kabuto's eyes widened even wider in shock, not expecting this in his wildest dreams. Why yo-you? Stated the stunned Kabuto. Long time no see, Kabuto team, sneered Naruto, enjoying the look of shock on Kabuto's usually cocky face. What's wrong, not happy to see me? Taunted Naruto. After a few moments, Kabuto regained himself and greeted Naruto with his usually cocky smirk. Well, Naruto-kun, I must say you truly are the most surprising and unpredictable shinobi that has ever lived, as I would never have expected you of all people were the Raikage, especially since I thought you were dead. Well, you know me, Kabuto team, I never stay down of long, sneered Naruto. Indeed, and who would have thought you were the son of the Yondaime Hokage? I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree after all, although it isn't exactly Hokage now, is it? Said Kabuto, adding in his own little jab, hoping to hit Naruto in sore spot at how his original dream was ruined when he was banished from Konoha. Naruto of course narrowed his eyes upon Kabuto, comparing him to his father, but he didn't care about Kabuto's little jab at being the Rokudaime Raikage instead of the Rokudaime Hokage like he had originally intended to be. No, you're right, it's not Hokage, it's better than Hokage, taunted Naruto back. At this, Kabuto narrowed his eyes slightly, seeing that his little cheap shot at Naruto had failed. At the same time, Orochimaru was trying to devise a way to salvage the situation, as the invasion was now obviously a flop. But he wasn't going to leave without some kind of consolation, like killing Naruto and making him pay for ruining all his plans. Blast it all, there has to be a way to salvage situation and turn it into my favor, thought Orochimaru, as right now even with Kabuto he stood not chance of winning. The 4 men that Kabuto had brought were basically useless to him, as they wouldn't be able to help him beat Naruto, where at best they would good enough as cannon fodder. Upon thinking this, an idea suddenly sprung into Orochimaru's mind at how to turn the tables on Naruto. Quickly Orochimaru did a few dozen quick hand seals and slammed his hands onto ground, after which the ground beneath the 4 Oto Jonins began draw them in like quicksand. WWWH, what's going on? Cried one of the Otonin. Orochimaru-sama, WWWH, hi. We're loyal, said another Otonin. Do not fret, gentlemen, your sacrifice will not go to waste, as you will be the key ingredient to something far greater than you, and your sacrifice will help me defeat the Raikage. Something that you cannot do in your current condition, said Orochimaru, with a cruel and uncaring smirk, as his men cried for help and mercy from him, right up until they sank beneath the ground. At seeing this, Naruto narrowed his eyes angrily at seeing how Orochimaru cared so little about his subordinate, even after they showed him so much devotion and loyalty that he did not deserve to begin with. It made him sick to his stomach, as it went against everything that Naruto believed in, as the first duty of a leader was the well-being of his subordinates and the people under his care. Seeing this made Naruto all the more angry and disgusted at Orochimaru. After his men sank beneath the ground, Orochimaru then spoke. Your power is indeed impressive, Naruto-kun, and it far exceeds even my own, but let's see how well you fare against this. Where he then did 6 quick hand seals and slammed his hands onto the ground and cried out, Kuchios, Edo Tensei, summoning, impure world resurrection. Upon doing this, 4 large coffins appeared from the ground together, the first one with the number 1, the second with number 2, the third with number 3 and the fourth with number 4. After which the 4 coffins opened up to reveal the Shodame Hokage, the Naidame Hokage, a young Sandame Hokage and the Yandame Hokage. With the observing group upon seeing Orochimaru reviving all 4 of the previous Hokages of Konoha, the confident looks of victory of the Konoha and Suna groups turned to looks of worry. Damn him! Cursed Jiraiya as he gripped his hands tightly in anger, and nearly making them bleed, as he saw his sensei and his student being brought back by Orochimaru to be used as puppets for him, as this was not the way he had wanted to see them again. That bastard! Hissed Tsunade angrily, as she could not blame Jiraiya for being so angry, as she too was furious at Orochimaru, at how he was bringing back her grandfather, great uncle and her sensei, to be used a pause against the village they loved and gave their lives for to protect. Kakashi was also of equal mind as Jiraiya and Tsunade, as he narrowed his eyes in angry at seeing how Orochimaru brought his sensei back to life, as a slave to do his bidding and to be used to kill his own son, his own flesh and blood. Komaru was just as angry as the others, where he gripped his hands tightly in anger, at the fact that Orochimaru was using the very same jutsu he used to kill his grandfather against Naruto, and was now bringing back his grandfather, and use him as a puppet for his own twisted schemes. Truly seeing the Kuchios, Edo Tensei being preformed in front of you is a sight to behold, a sight of disgust. It makes one wonder how someone as great and noble as the Naidame Hokage would know or would use such a technique, muttered Zhuge Liang with no small measure of disgust. As he had heard of the Kuchios, Edo Tensei, and how it worked and brought the souls of the selected people back from the dead to do the user's bidding as slaves and take away their free will. It especially disgusted him at how the jutsu relied on the user using living sacrifices, where to revive the dead soul temporarily. The user would have to use a living person life force and soul to power the jutsu, and then place the soul that the user wanted to revive into the sacrifice's body, where it would be used as a vessel to house the temporarily revived soul, with Naruto, Orochimaru, and the others. It seems that once again we've been brought back to do the bidding of this one, spoke the Naidame Hokage Senju Tobirama, as he turned to look at Orochimaru. Indeed, and it seems that war still plagues Konoha, and it has only worsened over time, spoke the Shodame Hokage, Senju Hashirama sadly. So Orochimaru, even after all this time, you still foolishly wish to destroy the leaf, said Sarutobi sadly, as he looked to his fallen student. Naturally, sensei, but I've not summoned you here to destroy Konoha, despite how delicious the irony would be, to have Konoha's 4 greatest heroes and leaders destroy it. I've summoned you here to kill him, said Orochimaru with a smirk, as he indicated to the person who stood in front of them, and who the Yandame Hokage had been silently staring at with widened eyes. Minato! BBBUT how? Cried the revived younger Sandame Hokage in surprise as he looked at the Yandame next to him and then Minato, in front of him, who looked slightly different from Minato he knew and was next to him. It was in that moment then that Naruto spoke. Hello? Father!